Elf I am the protagonist template. Invincible Chapter 281-300. Chapter 281. Uncle Lou, who conquers Sujin and starts action. Sudden incident. After solving the issue of Yayi's departure and retention, Baizi was not in a hurry to invite a battle with Yayi. After all, it's a long time to come to Japan, and there will be a lot of time in the future, so there is no need to be so abrupt and beautiful. Right. Playing with the Necrozma core fragment in his hand and enjoying the massage service from Shinado, Baizi glanced at the poisonous baby beside Mei and asked, "Aren't you going to take this little guy on a trip together for so long?" He had heard Mei said it before. Although they have traveled together for a few months and have developed a strong bond with each other, she did not accept the poisonous baby. Poison beetle then. Yayi twitched her fingers when she heard the words. Lui's eyebrows were crowded together like caterpillars, and she tangled. "But, it came to you with a mission, me, I can't snatch someone else's spirit." Done. Yayi shook her head fiercely, and the light brown twin ponytails swept like a windmill. Although it was rejected for various reasons. 417 inches but. In other words, do you still have an idea? Baizi smiled lightly and said, "But its mission has been completed. And, in any case, the establishment of fetters must first respect the wishes and emotions of both parties, right?" Said, Baizi raised the painted spar fragment in his hand. Afterwards, regardless of Mei's response, she turned her head to the slightly nervous Poison Babe and asked, "What about you, what are your thoughts?" "Yeah, Tilda." Poison Babe subconsciously approached Mei a little, and then with an expression no different from Mei, she glanced at the Necrozma core fragment in Baizi's hand with a slightly tangled look. Obviously, it also has similar concerns as Mei. Although it obviously means Mei, it itself has the meaning of adding a head in it. As a family who believe in the great God of radiance, God's command makes it difficult to make choices that are completely true to their hearts. Follow your heart. Baizi looked at Dubebe and gently encouraged, "I think, as the requestee, Necrozma will also respect my wishes. Besides, it's really beautiful to be in company with someone you love, isn't it? I would love to see this scene too." Poison Babe, don't hesitate, just follow your true thoughts. Baizi's words were completely sincere. Now that the bond between the two sides has been established, there is no need for him to be a villain and break them up with one hand. Moreover, just an ordinary ultra beast, not a legendary cub like Little Nebula or Necrozma herself. What's more, what Baizi values is not the ownership of a mere extreme beast. If even people are his own, then what else do we need to share with each other? Yeah, Tilda. No one knew Baizi's mind, but his words gave Dubebe enough encouragement. A soft moan. The poisonous shellfish hangs upside down, sprays purple liquid, and draws a heart shape around Mei. Then, he pounced on Mei's waist, and took the initiative to get into one of the Pokeballs. Mei looked dazed for a moment. Review all kinds of. The small conflict at the first encounter, the search for the savior together, the encounter with pirates, the survival of the sea, and the two places. Thinking about it, Yayi suddenly burst out laughing. Afterwards, she picked up the Pokeball that contained Poison Babe, recovered her vitality and clasped it up, raised her right hand and shouted, "I've taken Poison Babe." Cheers for a while. Mei released Poison Babe again, and one person and one pet completely ignored the vine snake who wanted to rest, pulled her up, and started a celebration that others could not understand. Baizi shook his head slightly. I didn't care about Mei and the two elves playing around. Get up. Walking towards the depths of the woods outside the camp. After breakfast, Sui-jun left the camp alone, but Baizi could feel that the other party hadn't gone far and was still staying near the camp. Sure enough, above a clear stream, Sujin's light figure stood firmly on the flowing water, as if the water under his feet was solid and stable. Baizi, I want to follow you. Baizi, who had just walked to the shore, was stunned by the telepathy like a clear spring, and was a little confused by Sui-jun's sudden decision. Frowned. Not as ecstatic as most people agree. Instead, After pondering for a while, he asked Sui Jun slightly jokingly, "The reason? It can't be because my food is delicious, right? There is a reason for this." But what Ling Baizi didn't expect was that Sui Jun really thought about it seriously and nodded towards Baizi. "However, it's not just for this reason. The breath on your body makes me feel very comfortable and powerful. Although we, as descendants of the Huang guards, rarely choose trainers to follow, everything about you completely agrees with my expectations, and Baizi raised his eyebrows. And not long ago, as the real three holy beasts, the chiefs of the clan who guarded the Lord suddenly disappeared together when they went to Chengdu to investigate the abnormality of the bell tower. Sui Jun's voice gradually became condensed. Although I don't know exactly what happened, there is always an invisible sense of urgency that prompts me to accelerate the accumulation of power. It's like a throbbing deep in my blood, reminding me, warned me. So, I decided to find a suitable trainer to follow, in order to become stronger. The first thing I thought of was you. But at the end, its voice suddenly became a little helpless. But your breath has been erratic, you finally got some clues, and you were entangled by that little girl named Yai. If you want to go with me, you want me to plant it. She's a ride tilde, PFF tilde. Baizi couldn't help but burst out laughing. However, he also knew that the reason for this was that, in addition to the good nature of Sujin, the most important thing was that it sensed that Mei was not malicious. Otherwise, I am afraid that a freezing beam will teach you how to be a man. After laughing, Baizi's heart also sank secretly. Suikun's narrative is very vague and imaginative. But if it is combined with the plot in the special chapter, the mutation of the bell tower, the disappearance of the three holy beasts, could it be gold, silver? Is the plot in the crystal chapter ahead of schedule? Lu Bo, he started the action in advance. Cardiac reversal. Baizi didn't think about it. He quickly restrained his thoughts, took out a luxurious ball, pointed it at Sui Jun and said, "Then, please take care of me in the future tilde." Sui Jun didn't say much, just gracefully jumped up from the water to Baizi's body. Slightly bowed his head 1.7. The diamond-shaped longhorn, like a gem, touched the button, and the red light spread, and it immediately wrapped Sui Jun and received it into the Pokeball. Sujin, one of the three holy beasts, was successfully subdued. The corners of Baizi's mouth twitched slightly. But he can't wait for him to be happy. "Stop, don't try to run." Accompanied by a loud shout from afar, noisy footsteps also sounded continuously behind him. P.S. I will go back to my hometown tomorrow. I will have a car for a day. I will go to my cousin's wedding on October 2nd. I will stay up all night and send one first. I will take the time to write on the rest of the way. Just Halo O T tilde T O tilde. Chapter 282, Shaolin. Freeze forever, Mask Man. For full order. Huh. Baizi frowned slightly and turned to look. I saw a squat, bald middle-aged man running in his direction with agility completely different from his size. Behind him, a group of young men dressed in silver-gray full-body uniforms with a reversal S mark similar to the number 2 printed on their hearts, led by a man in an ice mask who seemed to be crying but not laughing, followed closely. Silver Club. Baizi recognized the unique mark on the clothes of this group of people at a glance. After all, the previous conflict with the Baiyan Club was only about a month old. For Baizi, who has absolute memory ability, this time is almost no different from what happened yesterday. Therefore, it is natural to hide from him. However, if I remember correctly, the chairman of the Silver Club and the only remaining high-level executives were all served by me in the abandoned underground parking lot on the outskirts of Yuhong City. Also, such a recognizable ice the mask really makes one have to think of that man. Relying on his own power to enslave top legends, comprehend the harshness of winter, the ice trainer known as Permanent Freeze, Uncle Yiliu. However, the masked man in front of him was completely different from Lu Bo's frozen puppet in the special chapter 02. Even the threat it brought him. It's also far less than that of the peeping person on the outskirts of Yuhong City. In other words, although the breath revealed by this masked man is quite condensed and shrewd. But for Bai Zi, at this level, he doesn't even have the qualifications to make him a threat. Even if. Now, in his hands, there is only one Suicune. Was thinking. The pudgy middle-aged man was already close to Bai Zi's side, and while he was staggering, he suddenly fell towards him with a crooked figure. Pull me into the water. Bai Zi frowned slightly, and immediately moved aside. But what he didn't expect was that this squat, bald middle-aged man seemed to have predicted his movements in advance, and slammed into Bai Zi's arms with a staggered one. Suddenly, a familiar fragrance came. And at the same time. At the moment when their eyes met, Bai Zi also sensed tiredness, surprise, relief, and that resolute expression like entrustment. In an instant, the pair of light brown pupils with complex emotions overlapped with the pair of sly eyes in his mind. It also made Bai Zi instantly recognize the owner of these eyes. This is Xiao Lan. Bai Zi was a little stunned. But he didn't wait for him to react and prepare to do something. Once again, Xiaolan, who was running away, was knocked away from his arms, but he had already rushed forward and disappeared in the shining white light. It's this little trick again. The masked man who followed, his voice a little annoyed and irritable. Captain, what should we do? A minion from the Silver Society went up and asked. What to do? The masked man's voice was a little impatient. Of course it's the same as the previous groups. After I leave, I will expel the idlers, etc., and then use the super interference device to gradually shrink the encirclement for me. Otherwise, what else can I do? A bunch of rubbish. After swearing without the slightest estimate of the subordinate's face, the masked man completely ignored Bai Zi. While talking to himself, he took out a metal pokeball that was not painted at all from his waist. That Casey is indeed gifted with teleportation, but trying to escape the tracking of my natural bird. It's still a dream. As the words fell, the masked man wanted to throw a pokeball. Gotcha, but accompanied by a crisp bone-cracking sound, the masked man only felt his face, especially the bridge of his nose, as if he had been hit by a heavy hammer, which made him burst into tears in an instant. The shattering of the mask was accompanied by blood. The head is tilted back, and the body is pulled with impact. Swirling. One head fell on the open space more than 10 meters away, and he remained unabated, and rolled 7 or 8 laps again and again, and this was like a corpse. I don't know when Bai Zi, who was standing in the male position of the mask, slowly put away his right leg and grabbed his left hand. It slammed into Bai Zi's raised palm. After locking the pokeball, Bai Zi threw it in the direction behind him. At the same time, he took out the elf ball that had just conquered Suicune, and pressed it gently. He had already explored the data panel of this natural bird, level 61, the first level of the king. Unless it is a master ball or a special pokeball that is sturdy enough, even if it is locked, it will be difficult to trap a super spirit in the realm of heaven. However, even if you can't get tired, Bai Zi believes that Sujin is enough to deal with this natural bird. The elf ball in the middle of the air suddenly shattered, and in the faint white light, there was a strange bird with red and black horizontal bars, which looked like a green vulture, with white wings like a white sleeve robe, emerging from the light. But I haven't waited for the natural bird to react. Frozen teeth. Wu tilde. Following Bai Zi's order, Sui Jun, who jumped out from the light released from the pokeball, stepped on his feet, almost like a teleportation. Protruded to the side of the natural bird. The icy animal mouth opened, directly biting the neck of the natural bird. Yo tilde. The incoming chill made the natural bird froze instantly, and the frost marks on Joe 417 feet's body gradually appeared everywhere on its surface. The natural bird fell into the freeze. Captain. Who is this guy? Take him down. This group of little scoundrels who didn't have much self-awareness reacted just now, shouting one by one and releasing their own elves. Except for the coyote, Alados was indeed the standard elves of the Silver Club. However, the strength is obviously not in Bai Zi's eyes. The one with the highest level is just an elite high-level Alados, and the rest are all hovering between the novice high level and the elite beginner level. And Baizi obviously didn't have the time to deal with these little guys at the moment. Raise your hand. The turbulent thought force suddenly emerged like a mountain top, and mercilessly crushed these more than 10 elves and humans into the ground. The roar of earth and stone, the infection of blood. Baizi, on the other hand, turned his gaze not far away. That trembling man, leaning on the branches of a tree, climbed up from the ground. Chapter 283, The Superpower King Who Died Here. Shaolin's Hidden Feelings. Please order all. With purple slanted bangs and short hair, he doesn't look much older than himself, and under the shattered ice mask, wearing a strange black blindfold, looks quite mysterious. However, at this time, blood was flowing from his nose and mouth, and it was obvious that he had nothing to do with the mystery, and he was left in a state of embarrassment. And such a look. It also immediately made Baizi confirm one thing. It seems that Uncle Lu really planned ahead of time for the capture time. He couldn't be so sure of his guess before, but at this time, combined with the previous information and the face under this mask, he already has a key grasp of his guess. Because of such an image, it looks like one of the 4 heavenly kings in the Chengdu area in the future, the Super King, Kazuki. Certainly. According to the plot of the special chapter, Kazuki at this time should be under the command of the masked man played by Uncle Lu. Continue to act for Lu Bo's plan to capture time. If it is Kazuki in the game or in the anime TV version, then this is a trustworthy pure trainer with the dream of reaching the top of the trainer with a super spirit. But the one in front of him is obviously not Kazuki in the special chapter, before he became the 4 heavenly kings of Chengdu. He used to be a pure no-position trainer. In order to achieve his own goals and even fun, what he did can be more evil than the most evil organization. Simply speaking, he himself has no position, nor does he have the slightest notion of good and evil in his heart. Do things by heart. In order to achieve the goal, there are absolutely no taboos. Suck it up. Kazuki sniffed, reached out and wiped it on the bridge of his nose. It was broken. Hey it's really hard to start, you guy. The voice was also a bit leaky, and it was obvious that a lot of teeth were broken. But even so, he was still trying his best to show his demeanor, enduring the pain and staring at Baizi's face. Can you ask about your identity? The reason for attacking me is because of the injustice on the road, or because of our feud with Baiyan? Huh. Baizi suddenly let out a sneer, not wanting to answer him at all. Looking at Kazuki, it was like watching a clown jumping from a beam. And the meaning revealed in those eyes also made Kazuki, who secretly put his palms close to his waist, shuddered in his heart. Was he seen through? Kazuki's heart tightened, and he was about to make another move. The sound of sharp weapons piercing through flesh and blood. Ho, ho, ho. Kazuki's eyes widened and he opened his mouth, but the gushing blood made him unable to utter a word. He bowed his head slightly. A bloody metal needle arm pierced through his chest and lungs. Kazuki's pupils gradually widened. He never thought that his opponent was so ignorant of martial arts, and he let it come to an end so easily. In Kazuki's eyes, fierce unwillingness flickered. But, it's just unwilling. As the needle arm behind him was pulled away, blood splashed up, and Kazuki's pupil light gradually dimmed. In the end, with a thud, he fell on his back in a pool of blood infected under the tree. Clap, a thumb-sized mechanical part fell out. Baizi made a shush gesture towards the giant needlebee who was cleaning the blood on the needle arm. Step up. He waved his hand and used his mind power to ingest this blood-stained mechanical part in front of his eyes. Rectangular, black, with a red gleam on one receiver. Eavesdropping device. After looking around for a while, he quickly recognized the playful expression on Baizi's face. Use your fingertips. Kacha, with the sound of electric current, a faint thick smoke came out, and a pungent burnt smell emerged. This thumb-sized eavesdropping device was suddenly crushed by Baizi. And with Baizi's actions. The big needlebee on the side also swung its needle arms in succession, opening the other 3 Pokeballs that rolled down from Kazuki's waist one by one. Kill the other 3 elves one by one. Subsequently, a ball of light condensed on the tip of the needle and turned into a turbulent beam of light that swept out. With one stroke of destruction, the corpse was destroyed directly at the scene. The land was plowed, the trees were broken, and turned into a scorched black pit. Soon, your Suicune defeated Kazuki's natural bird, slightly gained, EXP +10, Frozen Tooth Proficiency +1, Freezing Light Proficiency +1, Bite Proficiency +1. With the system beep, there was no scar, just a slightly embarrassed Sui Jun jumped back lightly and nodded towards Bai Zi, Ming tilde. The big needle bee on the side glanced at Sui Jun quietly, and then followed Sui Jun's way without saying a word. S undisguised murderous intent. It looked at the scorched black pit not far from Bai Zi, and then turned its gaze to the large needle bee behind it. It frowned slightly as if thinking of something. In the end, he closed his eyes and secretly adjusted his breath as if nothing had happened. Bai Zi, who stared at Sujin from start to finish, twitched the corner of his mouth. It looks like he's not some pedantic guy. He was satisfied. When some habitually raised their hands to press the sunglasses on the bridge of the nose, they found that a cuff was pinned to the cuff. The main body of the paper-shaped sleeve needle is silver, and the 2 feather accessories, one yellow and one red, are unique. This thing is obviously not Bai Zi's own. But when it was worn on his cuff, there was an unexpected sense of fit, and it didn't conflict with Bai Zi's clothes at all. Moreover, this familiar sense of sight. Without hesitation, Bai Zi immediately used his probing power on the cuff. Suddenly, feather cuff. This is a special men's cuff camouflaged by Ho-Oh's rainbow feathers and Lugia's silver feathers. Bai Zi unexpected price. After all, in the special chapter, Made Jiao, Shaolin also made the 2 legendary feathers entrusted to Lu Bo's expectations as decorations on the straw hat and gave them to Xiao Huang. In this way, he hides the legendary feather and avoids being found by Uncle Lu. But this is the last sentence of what the probing results say. But Bai Zi had to be a little concerned about affection. This girl, Shaolin, is quietly greedy for me. But this is obviously not the time to think about these things. After the big stinger was finished and hurried back, Bai Zi used telepathy to remind the other elves who wanted to rush over from the direction of the camp. Then he directly straddled the somewhat stunned Suicune, took the giant stinger, and headed towards the depths of the jungle. Chapter 284. Evolution, Shaking the Mountain and Holding the Mountain, Giant Gold Monster. For full order. Big Needle Bee, Double Needle Attack. Beer tilde. In the sound of the breaking wind, the large needle bees turned and flew in the air, drawing lightning-like streamers, passing by the sides of the uniformed men and elves, causing blood to splash from the large tent. With a single blow, the members of the Silver Club and all the elves accompanying them were beheaded. Bai Zi ignored the spontaneous destruction of the corpse after the giant stinger. Sitting on Susan's back, he slowly gathered up the spiritual power of the diffusion and exploration, and frowned slightly. Is it still not there? Shaolin, this girl, really knows how to hide. Shook his head. Bai Zi was not too worried. Thinking about it, if it wasn't for a Heavenly King level trainer and the most difficult superpower system, Shaolin wouldn't be so embarrassed. Now that he stepped in, not only will he help her to clean up the pursuers, destroy the interference device, and break the encirclement, but also directly solve the biggest trouble point of Kazuki. If this can't take the opportunity to run away, then it would be too small to look down on Xiaolan, the owner of the illustrated book, A Man with Empty Hands. To know. She was only 6 years old when she took Xiaoyin, who was 3 years younger than her, to escape from the training base established by Uncle Lu as a masked man. Moreover, in the process of escaping, the 2 legendary feathers that Lu Bo used to capture time were taken with him. It was one of the planned items that meant life to Lu Bo. Number 417 may not have the slightest precaution. But even so, the 6-year-old Shaolin succeeded and managed to escape. Such agility and action. Little Blue. He is really a well-deserved intelligent and astute person in the entire elf world. Just the classic chest hiding ball tactics is enough to see one or two funny. JPG. Therefore, Baizi really wasn't too worried about Xiaolan's safety. He was just a little curious about how Xiaolan had an inexplicable love for him. And also, how far has her investigation of masquerade gone? Baizi's eyes were deep. Although he is not so afraid of Uncle Lu now that he has two top legends, if Uncle Lu's combat power is really perverted like the special chapter, it is indeed not an easy problem to solve. As for Xiaolan, Baizi, Fengwang and Lugi are also deeply entangled, and it is obviously impossible to stay out of it. Therefore, between him and Uncle Lu, there will be a battle sooner or later. Perhaps, I should consider the matter of strengthening the empty seat. Recalling the sealed orb in his backpack that contained the blood of Arceus, a dragon from another world, Baizi's eyes were slightly congealed. Baizi, is something wrong? Inside the camp, seeing Baizi rushing back, Yi hurriedly greeted him and asked. Although she is usually a little silly, she is not stupid. Just now, many of Baizi's elves who stayed in the camp had changed, obviously something happened. And what can cause the Baizi elves to move is most likely because of Baizi himself. It's alright, I have Suijun and Big Needlebee with me, what can I do? I just saw the injustice and went to persuade me to fight. Baizi jumped off Suijun's back and rubbed Mei's little head with a light smile. The hair is of good quality, very soft to the touch. Yi's face turned red. Feel the warmth from the big hand above your head. The little brain suddenly buzzed. The original worries and doubts in my heart have all become blank. Shinado, Zoroark, and the few spirits who were aware of them all breathed a sigh of relief. On the other hand, Lai Kongzai and Kang Shang, who were hovering and standing still, all looked like the old gods were there. With such a small distance, with their sensing ability, Baizi was almost the same as under their noses. What's there to worry about? As for Marshadow, this guy had already sneaked back into the shadow under Baizi's feet before he knew it. As a guardian spirit, it is indeed due diligence. After introducing his new partner Suijun to everyone, Baizi took out Necrozma's core fragment again. Do some thought. Then he waved to the metal monster not far away and said, Metal monster, I have something good for you. Terry Tilda. The metal monster was slightly puzzled, and its personality became very calm. It slowly floated up from the ground, used the magnetic field unhurriedly, pushed itself in front of Baizi, and watched Baizi calmly. Bang Tilda. Baizi didn't do much nonsense, and directly handed the painted spar in his hand to the metal monster. But I can't wait for the metal monster to reach out and pick it up. With a swoosh, the core fragment of the Necro ACBH ZMA was thrown into the arms of the metal monster like a swallow returning to its nest. And at the moment of contact, the colorful liquid luster envelops the metal monster in it. Seeing this scene, Yi was taken aback. After all, it was something she sent over. If something went wrong, she would really be at a loss for words. Don't worry, metal monster. It's getting stronger. Baizi's eyes were calm, and in the sense of his spirit, the life breath of the metal monster was like a flame splashed with gasoline, and it grew stronger in the raging burning. Not only that, invisible super energy factors and steel factors are also constantly attracted and accepted by metal monsters. And with the continuous increase of energy level, the cells of the metal monster also became active. Under Baizi's gaze, wisps of white light gradually emerged from under the 7-color luster covered by the metal monster, and soon a dazzling light erupted to completely suppress the colored streamer. Evolution. Baizi's eyes lit up. In the rising pure white light, the body of the metal monster was continuously elongated and enlarged. Among them, the most obvious change is undoubtedly the growth of 2 more sturdy iron arms whose shape is similar to that of iron dumbbells. The body of the main body has not changed much, it is still a discus-like torso, but it has become much larger in proportion. The spikes on the top of the head and the back, as well as the two pairs of silver sharp-edged knives protruding diagonally back on both sides of the body disappeared, and what followed was a huge golden X-shaped metal cross on the face. Compared with the period of metal monsters, the evolved giant gold monster has 4 brains, and the complex neural network formed by it makes it have computing power beyond supercomputers. Moreover, it is possible to analyze and calculate the opponent during the battle. It can be said, it is quite a powerful quasi-god perfect body. The giant gold monster. Looking at the steel monster with a body size far exceeding that of the same clan and a height of nearly 3 meters, Baizi couldn't hide his joy. In the eyes, the unseen brilliance suddenly appeared one by one. Elf. Giant gold monster, silver white flash. Attribute. Steel, super energy. Characteristics. Body of eternal purity. Heart of steel, exclusive characteristics. Immune to steel attribute moves, and increase the resistance of his own moves of various attributes. Prism armor, mutation characteristics. The damage caused by highly effective moves will be reduced by 1. 4. Level. Early King of Heaven, level 60, 65 100ths. Potential. Level 2 God. HP. 80, attack. 165, 105 defense. 130, 110, special attack. 95, special defense. 90, speed. 70. Common skills. Arm hammer, mind power, bullet punch, impact, mind hammer, electromagnetic floating, cannon light cannon, slamming, spiritual strong mind, ghost face, comet punch, iron wall. Genetic skills. Iron hoof ray, metal claw, photon surge, prism laser. Open black lens bracket status. Perfect close black lens bracket. Introduction. A born racial king, with defense and resistance that surpasses his own racial value, it is difficult to damage it without absolute overwhelming power, and the divine power he possesses is enough to shake mountains and mountains, split the sea and divide the river. Close black lens bracket. Chapter 285. The Test in the Viridian Gymnasium, a generation of ghost kings who set foot in the realm of quasi-gods. For full order. It looks like the Victory Gym is still open for business, doesn't it? In Joban City, in front of the stone gate opened by the Joban Gymnasium, Baizi looked at the young trainer who walked out of the gymnasium gate with his head down and muttered to himself while touching his chin. At first, he thought that there was a high probability that this trip would come back in vain. After all, whether it is according to the original plot timeline of the anime TV or the special chapter, the Joban Gym at this time should be closed due to various things. But the current scene obviously shows that this is not the case. It's just that the owner of the Vibana Gym, in the end, is Itagaki himself. To know. In recent times, the league's blow to the Rockets has been unprecedented. I didn't see that even one of the stronghold cities like Joban City, the nearby Joban Forest, was overwhelmed by the remnants of the Silver Society of the hostile forces, and their minions were stretched out. Otherwise. Under the couch, how can you allow others to snore? What's more, it's still a hero like Banmu. No matter who it is, since it is open, it will save me an extra trip. Shaking his head slightly, Baizi walked directly into the gate of the gym with Yai, who was looking around curiously. Behind him, the tender green snake and the suspended purple beast kept pace. The two walked through the corridor. Before entering the battlefield inside the gymnasium, there was a fork in the road. The right side was filled with clamorous voices, and from time to time there were orders to fight and the sound of roaring explosions. And on the left. It is a dark corridor covered with dark mist. Under the illumination of the lights above, the corridor is looming and invisible. As if there is no end in sight. And just in the center of the two passages at this fork, a huge electronic display screen is hanging on it. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. The test on the right side is against the war zone, and if you queue up to complete the challenge, you can make an appointment for the main battle in the hall. On the left, you can go directly to the opposite battlefield. If you successfully pass through it, you can go directly to the gym challenge. Yai took the initiative to step forward and repeat it word by word. But just finished reading. Help me tilde tilde tilde. Accompanied by a shrill scream, a burly man with a blue turban and a cowboy costume rushed out of the fog on the left side channel with a crying expression of collapse. That speed is like the skin drum is on fire. Even Suarang, who was also full of livid behind him, couldn't catch up for a while. D.N. Yayi was even more frightened by the sudden appearance of one person and pet, and flew directly onto Baizi's body. Fragrant jade was full, and Baizi couldn't help but sway in his heart. After a long while, he suppressed ripples and patted May's back comfortingly. Okay, it's just a group of trainers and elves who were frightened, it's all right. Yayi, who was relieved, suddenly blushed, jumped down quickly, bowed her head and rubbed her hands in an expectant manner, stared at her toes and said, thank you, Baizi. Nothing. Baizi looked as usual, but just bowed his hands. This is obviously not a good place to have sex. Not to mention. At this time, he suddenly became more interested in the current trainer of Vibrant Gym. Because, this inconspicuous layer of fog in front of me is not something that simple characters can arrange. Hypnosis fog, the materialized ghost factor fog containing hypnotic ability. People or elves who enter it, instinctively evoke the most terrifying memories or hallucinations. The ability to combine the attributes and skills that are mutually exclusive is so perfect. This guy. Immediately. The power of Baizi, which is full of exploration ability, poured into his eyes, and swept out towards the dark corridor in front of him. Race, Gengar. Attribute, Ghost Poison. Characteristic, Cursed Body. When attacked, there is a certain chance that the attacker will become immobilized. Level, Champion Peak, level 79, 99 100ths. Potential, Champion. HP, 60, Attack, 65, Defense, 60, Special Attack, 130, Special Defense, 75, Speed, 110. Skills, Hypnotism, Black Eyes, Song of Death, Tongue Lick, Mirror Attribute, Strange Light, Shadow Fist, Tit for Tit, Resentment, Curse, Misfortune Comes Alone, Night Magic Shadow, Shadow Ball, Sane Life, Nightmare, Dream Eater. Close Black Lens Bracket. 0. Ask for Flowers. Genetic Skill, Black Mist. Item, Amulet of Curse. After carrying, the power of Ghost-type moves will increase. Open Black Lens Bracket status, Perfect Close Black Lens Bracket. Law Comprehension, Ghost 0.9%. Introduction. Gengar, who has excellent aptitude and has almost fully realized his potential, has already manipulated the ghost factor like an arm, and can achieve 3-point effect with one effort, and is constantly advancing towards the realm of quasi-gods. First, for generations, there are ghost-type elves known as Ghost Kings, Jengui. And it is still a Gengar whose level has reached the pinnacle of the championship, and its ghost law comprehension has reached 0.9%. Such a Gengar. I'm afraid that the entire elf world can't find much, right? Even if Banmu's absolute trump card wasps, unless he had already broken through the quasi-god, would he really be able to suppress this Gengar? The other party, but who is it? How could there be such a leisurely mood to let a Gengar, who is almost a step away from the quasi-god realm, set up a preliminary test for a mere gym battle? At this time, Baizi had a question mark on his forehead. Curiosity made him even more interested in the trainer who is currently sitting at the Joban gym. Speaking of which, with this level of ghost-type elves, and its Encanto, it's impossible. A hunched figure flashed across Baizi's mind. Such strength. And there seems to be only one person who has enough motivation and right to do so. After all, that person's love-hate relationship with Dr. Damu in the nearby Junshin town is well known. Baizi touched his chin, and a slightly weird smile suddenly appeared at the corner of his mouth. A few. Chapter 286. In one sentence, Mother-in-law Chrysanthemum wants to discount my legs. Please complete the order. Baizi, are you all right? The timid voice beside him recalled Baizi's thoughts. turned. Looking at Yayi's worried and puzzled look, Baizi quickly restrained his weird smile and shook his head. It's fine. Okay, let's go to the left, to avoid waiting in line and making reservations. Saying that, Baizi directly pulled up Mei's little hand and walked towards the dark fog corridor on the left. As soon as Fang entered, the pitch-black mist surrounding her made Yayi feel a chill. It seemed that a deep and terrifying feeling suddenly came to my mind. But the feeling is only just rising. Next second, a warm aura like the warm sun quickly spread throughout the body from the raised palm, and the icy cold and deep terror were instantly dispelled. It's so comfortable. Yayi murmured subconsciously, and her palms unconsciously tightened Baizi's big, 417 inches hand. But then, after realizing the ambiguity and actions in his words, the pink cheeks were once again rendered with a red glow, until the stamina and earlobes spread. Baizi shook his head with a chuckle, but he did not protect himself even though he wanted to experience this test. Instead, let this phantom factor invade. But the power of Baizi in his body is really the natural enemy of this kind of alien state, let alone invade the body. As soon as Fang approached Baizi's body surface, the ice and snow melted. Ko-jia tilde. Zhang Gui, who was hiding in the dark, suddenly tilted his head in confusion. This layer of hypnotic fog did not use its full strength. For it. It's just a playful ploy. But no matter what, it is also the use of ghost-type factors that it is quite content with. It is not without the help of other trainers who have overcome this level with the help of will, or cleverness in elves. But walking in such a leisurely courtyard in front of me is as easy as passing the road in the early morning. Isn't it a little disrespectful to the fruits of my labor? Thinking like this, Zhang Gui's round body slowly emerged from behind Baizi and the others. Bulging cheeks gang. Unwilling, it rolled its eyes, covered its mouth with both hands, and suddenly laughed silently. But haven't waited for it to do anything. Don't be mean tilde. Accompanied by a warm telepathy, the young man in sunglasses with silver-white broken hair suddenly turned his head and made a shush action towards himself. One left and one right. A sharp, chilling aura suddenly emerged, each turning into a pair of dark red and dark golden pupils, making Zhang Gui's smirk froze for a moment. With a swoosh, he disappeared, not knowing where to hide. What's the matter? It's nothing, it's just a naughty guy. Well, here we are. With that said, the two also stepped out of the corridor and entered a quaint and spacious battle room. Directly in front of the two of them is the earth and stone opposing battlefield simply drawn with white lines. It is located directly opposite the venue. On the sofa under the colored skylight on the second floor, an old woman with golden curly hair sat upright with a pestle. She wore a green knitted shoulder strap, a purple gown, and a white apron tied around her waist. Sit backlit. The temperament, like a ghost with a layer of skin. She is one of the 4 heavenly kings of Kanto. Since the record of the Elf Alliance, she has reigned the longest and is also the oldest of the 4 heavenly kings of the Alliance. Proficient in ghost attributes, and fond of elves with terrifying appearances. The mother-in-law Chrysanthemum, who was the ghost king of Kanto at that time. It is said. When she was young, mother-in-law Kikuko was also a beauty trainer who paid equal attention to both strength and beauty. At that time, Dr. Damu had not yet embarked on the path of a researcher, and was still a powerful trainer. Enthusiastic and willing to help his friends, he always helps the eccentric Kikuko. And it's also a stalker type. The eccentric Kikuko always shows strong resistance to other people's care, but Dr. Ogi always sticks to Kikuko's side with her strength, trying to change and warm the other party. Over time, Chrysanthemum gradually became accustomed to Dr. Damu, integrated into Dr. Damu's social circle, and even developed a feeling for Dr. Damu. A golden boy and a jade girl, love is born over time. It was supposed to be a story. However, with the passage of time, Dr. Ogi devoted almost all his energy to the research of elves. Inevitably, the stubborn, and extremely lack of love, Kikuko was left out in the cold. I could have endured the darkness if I had not seen the light. Outside rumors. Dr. Damu and mother-in-law Kikuko parted ways because of their different paths and cognitions. But as far as Baizi knew, Dr. Damu's deceased wife used to be an assistant in the research department. She had a mild personality and was a good helper in work and life. After working and living together for a year, the two quickly got married and had children. At first, it caused quite a stir. The plot of The Proper Green Plum is no match for the sky. That is, from that day on. Mother-in-law Chrysanthemum, whose temperament has gradually subsided, has once again germinated, and her temper has even become more irritable and sinister. Since then, the two people above AUO have almost never been in contact with each other. Mother-in-law Chrysanthemum is almost always blown away by anything about Dr. Damu. Talking about each other, Juzi has always hated and despised each other, but Dr. Damu can only smile wryly. Dong tilde at this moment, accompanied by crutches, the sound of hitting the ground sounded, and the old voice of mother-in-law Chrysanthemum interrupted the messy thoughts in Baizi's heart. Young man, the old man is Kikuko of the Four Heavenly Kings, and temporarily serves as the head of the vibrant gym. She looked at Baizi and the two of them, and she couldn't sense any emotional fluctuations in her faint voice. Since you have passed the test, then I got the qualification to challenge the old man. The rules are 1v1. Don't worry, as long as you show qualified fighting will and level, I will issue a green badge as appropriate. Quote. Go tilde. Saying that, mother-in-law Kikuko waved her hand, and a ghost stone poked its head out of the shadows under her feet. With a dash, he landed on the opposing battlefield. Ghost stone, Gym Elementary, level 35, 3100ths. At the beginning level of the gym, it is quite suitable to be the guardian spirit of the gym competition. But this is not what Baizi wants. Looking back, Baizi Juni's face suddenly raised a pure smile. Mother-in-law Juzi, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Baizi, and I'm from Junshin Town. I heard that the reason why you hate Dr. Damu so much, mother-in-law Juzi, is because of love and hatred. Is it true? As soon as these words came out, the air in the entire battlefield was suddenly quiet, and needles could be heard falling. Afterwards, a ghost-like aura continued to emerge from the old body of Juzi's mother-in-law. This question, when I break your leg, I will take you to personally find this old man, Damu, to ask it clearly. Jang tilde Ghost. Chapter 287. Death Makeup, ABO Monster, The Misunderstanding of the Ghost King. As soon as the voice fell, the potential that appeared in Granny Juzi's body like a ghost suddenly rose sharply. But the voice fell for a long time, but Zheng Gui did not appear. Baizi. May. Mother-in-law Chrysanthemum. The scene was extremely embarrassing. Grandma Juzi couldn't help but twitch the corners of her eyes, and for a while, she had the heart to kill this ignorant old man. Kojia tilde tilde tilde. Hiding in the corner of the corridor, Zheng Gui, who was covering his ears, shrank like a coward, pretending that he couldn't hear the call of his old partner Kikuko. That kid is so evil. It's okay to use the hypnotic fog you're proud of as a back garden. He also carried at least 2 elves who set foot in the realm of the gods. So how do you let it play? After all, this isn't really hard work, it's just a gym game, it just jumps out of its head and suffers this beating for nothing. Anyway, you can't get out. JPG. Inhale, exhale tilde tilde tilde. Grandma Chrysanthemum's chest was a little heaving, she suppressed her anger, and secretly decided in her heart that she would show her old friend some color after this matter. Otu she twisted the top of the crutches in her hands. A click. The head of the Gengar-shaped cane suddenly separated up and down, revealing one of the Pokeballs. As the white light bloomed, a purple giant python several times the size of an ordinary aboriginal, with a snake body intertwined, and an open neck like a canopy appeared on one side of the field. An invisible sense of oppression came, as if the fangs were coiled around the neck, and the bifurcated snake letter with a chill kept sticking out from behind. Intimidating trait. Baizi's eyes narrowed, and he waved to Mei Yi, who was on the side, to bring her two little guys to the right side to watch the game. At the same time, a splendid streamer that no one could see flickered from his pupils. Take a panoramic view of the data panel of this ABO monster whose size is far greater than that of the same clan, like a wild python race. ABO monster. Attribute: poison. Characteristic: intimidate. Level: champion advanced, level 78, 95 100ths. Potential: champion. HP: 60, attack, 95, defense, 69, special attack, 65, special defense, 79, speed, 80. Exclusive secret skill: death makeup. Skills: big snake staring, smashing, poisoning, earthquake, tightening, dissolving liquid, black mist, poisonous needle, harsh sound, charging, swallowing, squirting, acid bomb, mud bomb, burping, coiling. Close black lens bracket. Genetic skill: venomous fang. Open black lens bracket status: perfect close black lens bracket. Prop: poisonous orb. Introduction: has a special talent that is almost unique in the group, and can obtain special amplification capabilities by changing the pattern on his abdomen. The so-called secluded poison does not separate families. Grandma Juicy is proficient in ghosts, and she is also an expert in poison. It is not strange to have a poison-type handheld ABO. Moreover, this aboriginal monster has not only appeared once or twice in the Challenge Heavenly King exhibition game after each league conference, and many people are very familiar with it. Not to mention, as the famous death makeup technique, Abai monster in his previous life, Baizi is also a famous name for a long time. But do the math. Remove the Gengar, who was heading towards the quasi-god realm before. It's the Aberdeen. Mother-in-law Chrysanthemum already has two champions in her hands. Moreover, anyone is enough to play a role, even an absolute ace beyond a regional champion. Tisk tisk tilde. Needless to say, this Yulongdu is a proper peak champion. Any Heracross who has never played in Shiba is a middle-level champion. Mother-in-law Chrysanthemum is not visible, and has the highest appearance rate and popularity. ABO monster is almost a step away from the peak of the championship, but it is not the strongest handheld. If it is the same as the Ice King Kona of the same name. Good guy. What is this called? The Four Heavenly Kings? Let's just change it to the Four Champions. It's hard to fight Yulong too. It's hard enough to fight one such monster. If he wants to become the champion of the Four Heavenly Kings in Kanto, he has to fight 3 times in one go. Tisk tisk, horrific. Heart slander. However, Baizi, who had already achieved half of his goal, did not hesitate, and took out a pokeball from his waist. Tap the button, and the pokeball instantly grows larger. The emitted white rays were constantly deformed in midair, and finally turned into a graceful shadow, landing on the field opposite ABO monster. Sana tilde. With a soft moan, Shinado, whose eyes were instantly separated from Baizi's, didn't need Baizi's reminder at all. He crossed his arms and raised his arms and waved down suddenly. Boom! In the brilliant white light that erupted again. Accompanied by a one-person high double spiral-colored phantom. The fluffy black and white dress, like a princess-like luxurious Super Shinado Y, is gorgeously reproduced in front of everyone. Wow tilde is this Shine Duo. Shine Duo can actually evolve again. Really, it's so beautiful. Yayi's face full of star-eyed expressions, her eyes were shining, and she looked like a little fangirl. Apparently, she was amazed by Shinado's appearance. Not to mention Yayi, even the eyes of the opposite mother-in-law Juicy flashed a strange color. Of course, mother-in-law Kikuko was not surprised by Shinado. Mother-in-law Chrysanthemum, whose aesthetics is completely different from that of the general public. Mainly because he was surprised by Shinado's re-evolution performance. Although not a scholar engaged in research work. But as a top trainer, she also saw the meaning of Shinado's re-evolution from the trainer's point of view. Although it is impossible to determine whether it is a permanent evolution or a temporary morphological change. 417, but its bonus to Shinedo's strength is obvious. From the initial entry to the championship level at the most, to the point where even my own Aberdeen feels pressure. Grandma Chrysanthemum forgot about the ABO monster that subconsciously coiled up in the field, and a deep look flashed in her eyes. Once exposed, I am afraid it will cause a worldwide change. Dead ghost, did you specifically ask this young man to remind me? A soft color flashed in Grandma Jusie's eyes. Immediately, she aimed her sharp gaze downward. HMPH. Don't think that a little kindness can make up for my suffering for so many years. However, let me see how well this kid who can be entrusted with important responsibilities by you is in the end. Boom, mother-in-law Chrysanthemum with a cane. A tricolored traffic light suddenly appeared on the big screen between the two of them. Dang, dang, beep. 3 whistle blows. Next second. ABO, speed, venomous fangs. Shinaiduo, break the spirit. Chapter 288. The difficult almighty ABO, the goal is achieved. For full order. With the order of mother-in-law Jusie and Baizi, Abagwai and Shinado started to act almost simultaneously. Hiss tilde. Circling and curling up on the ground, the Arbo monster, which suddenly bounced like a spring, opened its neck like a flying wing, and the pattern on it changed rapidly, from angry to smile. Next second, Abo's speed suddenly increased sharply. Like a purple piece of training, it has been shot in the blink of an eye, and the fangs covered with venom are like 2 sharp knives, opening and closing towards Shinado's delicate torso. The symphony of gold and iron resounded in the sky above the battlefield. I don't know when Shinado, who was already holding a purple translucent mimetic telekinetic spear, had a slender waist and a half bend, and his posture was leaning back. The blade of the spear was firmly pressed against the fangs of the ABO monster. Immediately, ABO and Shinado in midair fell into a brief wrestling. But, although ABO was in midair and had nowhere to take advantage of, Shinado was gradually at a disadvantage with the advantage of his size and his short burst of power. After all, the Y-form Super Xanadu is not a melee type. The hand-to-hand combat is still a little overwhelming. And right now, buzz, accompanied by the buzzing of the air, the super energy factor at the tip of the telekinetic spear suddenly boiled. Spiritual break, instantly turned into a dazzling beam of light, gushing out towards ABO monster's mouth at almost 0 distance. Such a sudden and short distance, the ABO monster is almost unavoidable. Times of crisis. Dong Yi's mother-in-law Chrysanthemum's expression did not change in the slightest. With a cane, the hoarse and crisp command was also issued at the moment when the sound of fighting sounded. Jian, bite into pieces. Hiss tilde. In an instant, the pattern on Abo's neck, which was spread out like flying wings, changed again, from smile to sorrow. Phew, in an instant, the body of the aboriginal seemed to be crystallized, with sharp edges and corners. After the lavender impact hit the upper jaw of the mouth, there was a sound of gold and iron symphony. But the next moment, just when ABO was about to use the psychic spear in the broken mouth, the shock wave that hit the roof of the mouth was like a dynamite barrel that exploded when it touched it. Turned into a huge ball of light spinning and blasting. In a bang. With the splash of blood and flesh in the big tent, the upper jaw was directly blown off, and the scorched black ABO monster flew out in bursts of shrill screams. Then it fell to the ground, sputtering a large piece of flying sand and stone. This skill, so powerful. Grandma Jusie was slightly shocked, and Baizi immediately gave an order to pursue the victory. Shinaiduo, break through the spear formation. Sana tilde. Shinado immediately moved upon hearing the sound, and with a wave of her hand, countless psychic spears containing the power of spiritual breaking were condensed. Almost in the blink of an eye. Turned into an overwhelming array of guns, the entire sky above the battlefield is covered. The previous, Spirit Break, and the current, Spirit Break gun. In fact, it is a variant of the exclusive skill, Super Energy Annihilation, extended by the further super power factor manipulation ability in the form of Super Shinado. It is said to be a spiritual break, but its essence is Super Shinado, which uses the ultimate spiritual power far beyond the level to forcibly annihilate the superpower and imitate it, and binds the skill operation application in the mind power sphere. It is also possible to call it the Lance of Oblivion. Still belong to the special attack direction. And the concealment and accuracy have also been substantially enhanced. Of course, the power is inevitably limited by the volume of the psychic sphere, and there is also a limit on the sustainability. A Lance of Obliteration, now that it has also caused an impact, can only trigger a small-scale super energy factor riot. But, in addition to concealment and accuracy, the speed of cohesion is also far better than the previous super energy annihilation. It can be said that each has its own strengths. The main reason why ByZ developed such a pseudo-spirit break is to supplement a special enhancement that Xanadu cannot use after transforming into a Super Xanadu. Closer to home. In the field. Under the attack of the rapid and rain-like spear formation, ABO, who was seriously injured, was completely submerged by this rain of spears. Boom tilde, life. The short sound of hitting the ground and the hoarse voice of mother-in-law Kikuko sounded in the gap. And the next second. Rumbling, the gun formation crashed to the ground, and the sound of continuous explosions was suddenly heard. The smoke and flashes from the explosion completely obscured the opposing battlefield in the Joban Gym. Several people standing in the field. You can almost feel the constant vibration from the ground. Soon. The explosion stopped for a while, and the smoke screen slowly dissipated. The situation in the field suddenly fell into the eyes of everyone. The pitted ground seemed to have been plowed dozens of times over and over again, and even exposed a little metal plate below the soil and rock layer. Shinado was suspended in the air under the lavender spiritual ball. And below. The broken snake body, like a broken doll, fell straight on the ground. All over the body, at least half of the flesh and blood was cut off by the bombardment of the gun array, and the surrounding area of several meters was infected into a dark red color. Yayi in the stands turned pale. But before she could turn her head away, the next change in the Aberdeen on the field made her eyes widen again. I saw that the wound gap on the tattered ABO monster surged rapidly, filled with flesh and blood, and the scales and teeth regenerated. It didn't take a moment for the Aberdeen to bounce up straight from the ground and recover completely. Okay, that's amazing. Yayi was completely dumbfounded. Although this battle was only a few moments, the level and intensity were so high that she had only seen it in her life. Not to mention the sigh of the rookie May. In the field. Looking at Abai Snake's body's healing ability, which is almost comparable to the regeneration of flesh and blood, ByZ's eyes narrowed slightly. Although this battle, because of his own plans, he did not deliberately formulate a targeted battle plan for ABO Snake, and it was almost entirely by force. But no doubt, he, and Shinado, didn't hold back at all. But this ABO monster with the death makeup technique is really almighty. Speed, physique, regeneration ability, these 3 points alone are enough to deal with. Unless the strength is crushed, or the opponent's physical strength is exhausted. Otherwise, it is almost difficult to knock down this Arbo monster in a short period of time. However, what I want is not to knock down the opponent, but... ByZ's eyes lightened slightly. Deliberately paused for a moment. And mother-in-law Chrysanthemum also quickly seized this neutral position. Abaway, rush up, speed, force, iron tail. Hey tilde. The pattern changes, and the purple light flashes. Next second. The Arbo monster that rushed in the air was spinning like a wheel, and the faintly revealed neck pattern was full of majesty, made Jiao, and the snake body swelled up like a pile of blocks. The long tail shone with metallic luster, tearing the air below into sonic booms. Boom. The earth and rocks were surging, and the ground shook violently. The momentary movement at the critical moment made Abai Snake's strike fail again. But with the roar of the sound faded away. After the smoke screen cleared, a huge hollow crack appeared in the field. This is. Looking down at the underground laboratory full of high-tech products under the crack in the eye-catching R mark on the ground, Granny Chrysanthemum looked condensed. Team Rocket. Hearing this, Baizi's mouth twitched. His purpose has been achieved. Price. Chapter 289, One of a Kind. In the underground of the Victory Gym, there is a rocket team's experimental base hidden. In this way, the identity of the main board wood of the vibrant gym is naturally very suspicious. Genghis, go down and have a look. Koji Tilda. It seemed that he could hear the solemnity in Granny Juzy's voice, and Jang Ghost, who was hiding to the side watching the battle, immediately revealed his figure, and after smiling embarrassingly at Granny Juzy, his body became delusional and sank to the ground. Most of the ghost-type elves have the ability to travel through shadows and turn the real into the virtual. Therefore, also one of the best detectives. Because they are often silent, and it is easy to obtain information under the condition of ensuring their own safety and retreat. After arranging Jengwi's investigation, and letting Abash guard the entrance of the cave, Granny Juzy turned her attention to Baizi, who had a perfectly intact face. Boy, you are very calculating. Old and mature, mother-in-law Chrysanthemum just turned her head a little and guessed Baizi's thoughts. This battle is not so much a battle, but rather a deliberately guided field destruction. Whether it is a coverage attack that is not necessary for 433, or the previous deliberate pause and orientation. HMPH what a ghostly stinky boy. Perhaps because of some previous misunderstandings, mother-in-law Chrysanthemum, who regarded Baizi as a bridge of some kind in favor of Dr. Ogi, did not feel any ill will towards Baizi, the little guy who had calculated on her. Therefore, rare. Not only is her voice not tough, but there is a little appreciative smile. Mother-in-law Chrysanthemum is joking, what calculations do I have? Baizi shook his head. He wasn't actually surprised that he would be probed. To put it horribly, mother-in-law Chrysanthemum may have traveled more than he has eaten. Ups and downs for decades. In a high position. Heroes, theirs. What characters and things she has not seen and experienced. Putting that little thought on his own in the eyes of the other party is no different from playing with a gun in front of Guangdong. Therefore, Baizi had no idea that he could hide from the other party. Anyway, his main purpose is to tear apart the identity disguise on the ACBH surface of Banmu, so, no matter how well Banmu hides it, the identity of the pavilion owner on the bright surface can always be involved in some of the rocket team's identity power on the face. Anyway, as long as he can hit the rockets, he is very happy. This has nothing to do with justice. Only. Baizi asked for a little interest for Shinado. Of course. Facts are facts. Admit it, he will never admit it. You slick boy. Mother-in-law Chrysanthemum smiled dumbly, and without saying anything, threw a badge with a green leaf pattern at her feet. Immediately, a ghost stone emerged from the black fog, caught the green badge and headed towards Baizi. If you win this battle, this is the certificate of Vibrant Gym, the green badge. If you don't want to expose it, then leave here as soon as possible. As soon as the mother-in-law Juzy said this, the system's prompt sound also sounded one by one. You commanded Shinado to defeat Juzy's ABO, and gained a little, battle experience plus 20, Shinado's experience value plus 15, teleportation proficiency plus 1, super annihilation proficiency plus 5. Does that count as a victory? Thank you, mother-in-law Chrysanthemum. Baizi raised his eyebrows, then, after taking the green badge passed by Ghost Stone and sincerely thanking him, he pulled Mei, who was still a little dazed, and left the Jobin Gym. After the two left, Granny Chrysanthemum rubbed the handle of the walking stick in her hand, and suddenly laughed lightly. Speaking of which, since this stinky boy has collected gym badges, he is also a contestant in this year's Quartz Conference. This time the president doesn't have to worry. With such a little monster, Kanto will definitely stand out at this year's conference. After leaving the Jobin Gym, Baizi directly released the wind speed dog after leaving the city, took Mei Yi, and hurried towards a part of the Jobin forest west of number 2 road on the outskirts of the city. It has been a few months since the last separation. To be frank, Baizi still misses that pure child like a clear spring. I don't know if the little guy listened to my opinion, has a good fighting ability to train elves, and that Archaeopteryx. In the midst of his thoughts, the wind-speed dog crossed the forest and the stream, and it didn't take long before the familiar two-story log cabin was visible from a distance. And by coincidence, just before the wind-speed dog ran to the gate of the courtyard, Uncle Shuzi, who was holding a fishing rod and a bucket, just pushed the door and came out. You mean, Xiaohuang was kidnapped by a girl with a weak complexion, a carefree face, and a bunch of dragon-type elves. In the living room on the first floor of the wooden house, Baizi's expression was a little strange. Weak complexion, carefree, specializing in dragons. With such a strong sense of sight, he had to remind him of a black girl. Yes, it's almost a month old, so I left a letter with the signatures of Xiaohuang and another little girl. Uncle Shu sighed slightly and took out a letter from his jacket pocket. The envelope paper was handed to Baizi. Oh. Baizi reached out and took it, and immediately opened the folded envelope and looked at it. Uncle Shu's, how can an excellent trainer not go out and roam? I will take Xiaohuang, see you at our quartz conference. Close black lens bracket. The tone has strong personal characteristics, obviously not Xiaohuang's tone. And the two signatures below. In addition to Xiaohuang's graceful handwriting, another wild and many signatures did not exceed Baizi's expectations. Open black lens bracket, Alice left smile. JPG close black lens bracket. Sure enough, it's that dragon lady. Baizi's mouth twitched. P.S. Ask, do you have any candidates for the second team? I plan to use them in the elf eggs rewarded by the quartz conference. The initial intention is to choose one of 3. 7v7, tilde. Chapter 290, Flashing Little Fire Horse, God's Reward, Playful Monkey tilde please order. Ah cut tilde. At the same time, in the dense forest between the two cities of Jinwang and Yuhong, the black-skinned dragon lady Alice suddenly sneezed. Are you all right, Alice? Did you catch a cold? Not far away, Xiaohuang, who was making lunch surrounded by a bunch of elves, turned around and worried. It's okay tilde. Alice waved her hand carelessly, then wiped the tip of her nose boyishly and said, I guess someone is talking bad about me behind my back. HMPH, maybe it's that stinky old master. Alice hummed, humming. Afterwards, he looked enviously at the little fire horse that was burning blue flames beside Xiaohuang's feet. Seriously. She is really interested in the so-called brother Baizi. In Xiaohuang's mouth, a big increase. The ear calluses that I listened to along the way are about to grow in, let's not say, in this jungle. Just because of a certain aura carried by Xiaohuang. After some chat, the tree elf overlord here directly took Xiaohuang as his son and nephew. It's 2. One of them, the flaming horse leader who leads the clan with a shining body, also gave his child, a shining little fire horse, to Xiaohuang. Tears of envy, JPG. Although Alice is an incurable late stage of dragon cancer, no girl can refuse a little fire horse with sky blue flame hairs. Such a Mount Elves. Especially at night, it is so beautiful that no girl can refuse it, okay. But honestly, Xiaohuang's affinity is too perverted. All the subdued elves followed actively, and now, including this little fire horse, there are already 7 holding them. And judging from her eyesight, none of them are ordinary characters. No shortage of flashes and quasi-gods. On the other hand, she herself has been trying very hard to find and replenish the handheld, but until now, she has only captured a Laplace that is used as reinforcement. God, give me a powerful elf, add the handheld. Quote. Alice looked up at the sky and sighed with a funny face. But just looked up. Whoosh, a small figure shining with bright silver light slammed down in the air, with a thud, hit the forehead, and smashed Alice's management theory to the ground. Alice. Xiaohuang was suddenly startled. Are you all right? Tilde. Alice covered her red forehead and waved her hand, indicating that she was fine. Then, He lowered his gaze and looked at the culprit. He was very petite, only less than half a meter, with a round body, stubby limbs and a big, round head, covered with a steel helmet, blue and barky. Eyes are ignorant. Although a pair of steel and iron bones, the overall appearance is very cute. This is... Xiao Huang leaned forward. It's the infant form of the heavy metal tank boss Cordora, Coco Dora. Alice got up excitedly. Although it was a hopeless dragon cancer, Alice herself believed in fate. I just prayed to the sky, and it fell from the sky. This must be a partner bestowed on me by God. Coco Dora, I want to subdue you. Go, baby dragon, use the headbutt. The affairs of Alice and Coco Dora are not mentioned for the time being. Farewell to Uncle Shoes. After leaving this two-story wooden hut on the outskirts of the vibrant forest, Bai Zi, who was walking slowly on the wind-speed dog, wrapped one hand around the slender waist of Yi in front of him, and on the other palm, playing with a faint spark. A phantom flash of black charcoal. This thing was obtained from the Alliance by Uncle Shoes after turning around and taking a lot of favors. Hunter G's bounty reward. Holy fire charcoal, the prop charcoal processed by the fire of the flame bird. After carrying it, the power of the fire attribute moves will increase, and if the fire elves swallow it, there will be a slight effect of cutting the marrow of the Book of Changes. Not bad. Bai Zi nodded in satisfaction. This thing is useless for the wind-speed dog, but it is just right for the little fire monkey. As for the 15 million Alliance coins awarded by the Alliance, Bai Zi entrusted Uncle Shoes with the money to send the money to Dr. Damu to help him buy a piece of forest near Junxin town. Bai Zi is going to rebuild it and build a private semi-wild living area. In this way, when you are tired and return to Junxin town, you can also let the elves have a safe place where they can splash as much as they like. Stop here for a while. Bai Zi patted the wind-speed dog on the neck, called it to stop in the later stage, and turned over directly. Yi hasn't reacted yet, her moist eyes are boundless, and her little face is flushed. 0. Asking for flowers is obviously not suitable for Bai Zi's intimate contact. But it can be seen from the expression that although he is shy, he is obviously not disgusted. And here, after Bai Zi jumped down, he directly released the little fire monkey. Cuckoo tilde. As soon as the little fire monkey came out, it jumped in the air, and under the background of the little sparks, it slowly half-kneeled from the ground. The waist was straight, the eyes were sharp, and the whole body was tense. Then set off with the lingering firelight, which makes people feel different at a glance. Like a battle-hardened warrior. But Bai Zi is very clear. Grind though. But this attitude is completely imitated by trying to figure out other elves and pretending to coerce. Yes, today's little fire monkey is completely a crooked monkey. However, pretending to be forceful, this guy is not at all vague when training and fighting. Moreover, in order to add special effects to himself and have a handsome enough body and movements, he not only worked hard on the control of energy factors, but also deliberately learned some fisting and body sculpting with himself. Although Bai Zi has not learned other techniques. But one method works and all methods work. The master-level kicking skills have given him a high level of comprehension in other physical arts. It is no problem to learn by analogy, and to teach a pure novice little fire monkey. Because of the above reasons, Bai Zi didn't care whether little fire monkey was pretending or not. Anyway. As long as it doesn't affect growth. What kind of personality he can accommodate. Okay little fire monkey, stop showing off, eat this. Bai Zi threw the charcoal in the past. Slap, little fire monkey didn't look back, stretched out 2 fingers to clamp the charcoal, pinched it up, sighed softly, and poured the charcoal into his mouth. That gesture, that look. I don't know, I thought it was swallowing some kind of poison that seals the throat with blood. Bai Zi. Rub tilde playing monkey, #yi. Several. Chapter 291. Unconventional Transformation, Fierce Fire Monkey. For full order. Let's not mention the complaints in Bai Zi's heart. Gu tilde wow. After the little fire monkey swallowed the sacred fire charcoal, it immediately made a slightly painful cry and half knelt on the ground. Little fire monkey. Yayi was startled, and after shouting worriedly, she quickly turned her head and asked Baizi anxiously, Baizi, what's wrong with little fire monkey? Is it okay? It's okay, or rather, yes, good thing. The glittering white eyes in his eyes smiled, looking at the word, transformation, that flashed like a neon in the column of characteristics. Is that so? Yayi nodded in understanding. At this moment, along with the gradually lowering roar, the body of the little fire monkey rose. First, the little sparks and the gradually flickering white ons. Subsequently, 4, 3, 3, fire swirls like a tornado, and the dazzling light emerges from the little fire monkey's body. Look around. It was like an upright luminous monkey, constantly deforming and growing in the swirling flame tornado. Its stature grew from less than half a meter high to nearly 1 meter, and then rose a little again. In the process of growing up, all over the body, from time to time, heavy gray dots are expelled, rise, and then disappear, like a magazine being expelled. Soon, the flame faded away, and the white light paused. The new little fire monkey, no, at this time it should be said that the fierce fire monkey has finally completed its transformation. He was only a head shorter than Baizi, which was far better than his family members who were less than 1 meter tall. Its ears, mouth, hands, feet, and abdomen have also changed from the light yellow before to the dark flesh color now. Overall, compared with before evolution, its appearance is wilder, its limbs are thicker, and the flame of its tail burns more vigorously. It also has red and blue mask-like patterns on its face, a ring of white hair around its neck, and a swirling pattern on its abdomen. It is said that the fire monkey relies on the flames rising from its tail to make its body look taller to intimidate its enemies. The size of the flames on their tails and the vividness of the blue facial lines on their faces also determine their respective status in the group. And to a certain extent, it also shows its strength on the surface. At this point, Dr. Otamaki from Weibai Township in Fengyuan District has made a special in-depth investigation and demonstration. The degree of burning on the fire monkey's tail and the depth of the blue facial lines on the face are determined by the strength of the fire attribute ability factor in the fire monkey's body and the strength of its physique. In other words, the more vigorously the flames on the tail burn, the darker the blue fringe on the face. So, the strength of this fierce fire monkey is also stronger. And compare these 2 points. Baizi's fiery fire monkey is obviously a leader in terms of fire attribute factors and physical fitness. At this point, from the attribute panel, it can be easily seen. 1. Race, fire monkey. Attribute, fire fighting. Characteristics, fierce fire, exceptional exclusive characteristics. When the will and mind reach a certain limit, they can ignore the breakthrough of common sense, and even nirvana. Level, elite height level 33, 15/100. Potential, quasi-king limit, 1 transformation. HP, 64, attack, 78, defense, 52, special attack, 78, special defense, 52, speed, 81. Skills, sonic punch, grab, stare, spark, provocation, random grab, flame wheel, feint, self-motivation, vexatious, close combat. Genetic skills, chi gathering, lightning fist. Open black lens bracket condition, good close black lens bracket. Introduction, one of the fire masters who has undertaken a fateful fate. The will in his heart is like a flame, and his hot heart is enough to cause miracles. He has extraordinary power and is an unquestionable hard-working genius, an extraordinary transformation and evolution. The strength of the fire monkey is close to the level of 33 triple jumps, the level of elite high level. The minimum standard for the next final evolution is only 3 levels away. The potential has also reached the limit of the quasi-king. It's even more advanced, and I realized in advance the melee combat tricks that are quite powerful in the fighting system. It can be said, this is almost a reborn change. Not bad. Baizi nodded in satisfaction. At this time. Ga tilde. Ga tilde. Two consecutive long sounds came from the sky not far away. Baizi fixed his eyes and saw that brown feathers, long beaks, and red crowns. These two bird elves flying side by side, aren't they the final evolution of the two big bird elves in the Viking forest, the big-billed sparrows? And open black lens bracket big mouth, elite advanced, level 32, 95 100ths close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket big mouth, elite advanced, level 33, 40 100ths close black lens bracket. One level 32 and one level 33 0. Neither high nor low. It's just right to be a tester of the strength of the fire monkey. Thinking of this, Baizi didn't hesitate much, and even pointed up the sky. Fire monkey, use the tree to step on it and use the flame wheel for me to aim at those two big bills. Wow tilde. The fire monkey immediately moved upon hearing the sound, flew up, and in the blink of an eye climbed to the top of a treetop more than 10 meters high. Then grabbed the top treetop with both hands and jumped down. The trunk sank with it. After that, the spring-like reaction force lifted up, and quickly bounced the fire monkey, which had fallen to the waist of the tree, upwards. The fire monkey took advantage of this upward force and rushed forward. As layers of flames rise, it turned into a flame wheel, and slammed towards the two big bills that just flew to the tree and it. Bang, bang. Two consecutive hits. Almost indiscriminately. Immediately after, the fiery fire monkey, which emerged from the flame wheel, suddenly stretched out its arms, and before the two big-billed finches on the left and right chirped, they strangled their long necks and throats. Melee combat. Wow tilde. Excited and shouted like a cheer, the fire monkey folded in the air and threw the two big-billed sparrows in his hands straight down like a javelin. Boom, boom. The big mouth smashed to the ground, causing the sky to be filled with smoke. You commanded the fire monkey to kill the big mouth in an instant, with a little gain, battle experience plus 5x2, fire monkey exp plus 10 times 2, flame wheel proficiency plus 1x2, melee combat plus 1x2. Chapter 292. Returning to Junshin Town, green surprise please order. Really new, symbolizing pure white color. And Junshin Town, which means pure white town, is not polluted. The topography, environment, area, and even geographical location here are actually no different from any large city in Kanto. Even more than that. It is connected to the number 1 road connecting Joban City and Joban Forest in the north, and the number 21 waterway that enters the sea in the south. It can be said that the north and the south are connected, and the water and land are parallel. However, occupying such fertile land and important roads, the population of Junshin Town has always been small. It's not that no one has moved because of its remoteness. In fact, not to mention other things, the name of Dr. Damu alone is enough to attract countless trainers and scholars. If it wasn't for Dr. Damu's intentional restrictions, I'm afraid that Junshin Town would have become a real new town more than 10 years ago. Dr. Damu did not want to pollute this pure white land. That's why. Only retained the unique peace and harmony of Junshin Town. Tested the new strength of the fire monkey. O2 Baizi took Mei. All the way, with the speed of the wind speed dog, it took less than half a day to pass through the Chengpan forest and came to the fork in the border of Junshin Town. I am back, really new town. With a sigh of relief, Baizi withdrew the wind speed dog, took the somewhat nervous Mei, and chose to walk the last leg. As he walked, looking at the familiar but slightly unfamiliar scenery on the side of the road in the quiet town, a memory flashed in Baizi's eyes. Although seriously, he really remembers the past, and the time he has lived here has not added up to the time he has traveled. But combined with the memory fragments that flashed in his mind from time to time, it actually made him feel like a wanderer returning home. It's really a wonderful feeling, but I don't hate it. Baizi smiled lightly. Soon, he came to the first building at the entrance of the town, the Research Institute and residence of Dr. Ogi. This is a complex of buildings built on a small slope at the entrance to True New Town. The circular staircase spreads all the way down the mountain. On the outer layer, 2 arc-shaped walls are set up along the mountain. There is an entrance and exit. But no gate was established. You can go straight up the ladder. Is this your hometown Junshin Town? Also, is this the legendary Dr. Damu Research Institute? Is there a living Dr. Damu living in it? Having calmed down a little, Yayi looked around and looked at the courtyard wall. The very eye-catching word, Oki Research Institute, on one side asked in an excited tone. Yes, this is my second hometown, Junshin Town, a pure white and peaceful land. Baizi introduced with a light smile, then pointed to the plaque in front of him. As for whether it is Dr. Damu's Research Institute, isn't it obvious? Hee tilde, Yayi scratched her head and smiled. Shaking his head, Baizi took Yayi up the steps, and soon came to the door of the Research Institute. Very familiarly, he reached out and pressed the doorbell. Ding dong, one by one. Who is it? There seemed to be a voice of inquiry from Dr. Oki from the door. Immediately after that, there was the sound of a wheelchair being dragged, and then there was the sound of thinking of something being thrown, and Dr. Ogi's pained cry and, "Ah, my dinner, it's hot. It's hot," screamed. Dr. Damu, you're not going to use the instant batter again, are you? Hearing this familiar voice, Baizi shook his head helplessly, and while opening his mouth with a chuckle, he reached out and pushed open the door. Ah, Baizi, are you back too? Holding the earlobes with both hands, Dr. Ogi, who turned to look at him, frowned, looking quite happy. But as soon as he saw the person who came, he immediately said with joy. Also, Baizi raised his eyebrows. Of course it's, also, because I happen to be back today, Master Ben. Before Dr. Ogi could answer, along with the sound of footsteps, an arrogant young man with a tan spiky head and a proud face stopped in the middle of the indoor staircase. After looking at Baizi, the corners of his mouth rose slightly. Huh, is this your girlfriend? Turning his eyes, after seeing Yayi behind Baizi, Qinglu suddenly spoke again. Ah tilde. Yayi's face suddenly turned red, and while she was a little flustered, she couldn't help but give birth to a trace of anticipation. I hope so too, but it's not for now. Baizi shrugged, looked at Qinglu and smiled, saying nothing. Yayi's face turned even redder behind him, and she just lowered her head, disapproving, but not objecting. That's right. Qinglu pointed to the direction of the backyard with his thumb. That guy Kai happens to be there. Do you want to join us? I have a surprise for you to take a look at. Surprise. Baizi suddenly became interested. Okay, I'm also curious about what kind of surprises you can bring me. Let's wait and see. Qing LV proudly smiled, and immediately jumped down from the middle of the indoor stairs, heading towards the door leading to the rearing area in the backyard. Baizi and Dr. Ogi looked at each other. Ji Yudu can see the unknown and strong goodness in the eyes of the other party. Whether it is Dr. Damu or Baizi, they all know too much about the arrogance in this guy's bones. He can be used as a surprise, and deliberately displayed in front of everyone. Presumably. It won't be something simple. And as a guy who aims to be a trainer and leads the way to the strongest, he can be regarded as a surprise by Qinglu. There are great possibilities. What a rare and powerful elf. Then, what kind of elf is it that a guy like Qinglu will deliberately show? Thinking of this, whether it was Baizi or Dr. Damu, who all had a strong curiosity in their hearts. Then, invariably, he quickly followed behind Qinglu and headed towards the backyard. And Yayi, who was being pulled by Baizi, was dragged and followed at the end in a daze. P.S. I was attending a wedding today. I just came back to write a chapter, and I have to go to a family dinner soon. I will try my best to catch up at night, sorry tilde. Chapter 293. Crimson Competitive Heart, such as the green throat. As soon as he arrived in the backyard, Baizi saw the redness of the elves who carefully measured and surveyed the state of the elves, as well as the condensed and extraordinary elves surrounding him. quick-swimming frog, Pikachu, fire-breathing dragon, cobby beast, butterfly, Laplace, Gala Gala, sun elf, frog flower, king Nito, fossil pterosaur. A total of 11 elves. Every one of them gives Baizi a strong feeling. These are all handpicked by Xiao Kai, but I also asked him to help collect a picture book. There are about 100 of them, and they are all placed in the rearing area of the back mountain. Dr. Damu said from the side. Is that so? Baizi nodded, just as he was about to examine the scarlet hand. Everyone. The sound of Qinglu's sudden rise suddenly sounded, and after stepping on a training stake with a flexible body, he took out a pokeball from his waist. A white bottom and a purple top, a white M symbol is tattooed on the button in the middle, and 2 red bulging bulges on the left and right sides look like the compound eyes of insects. This is a master ball. Come and witness this young master's unique follower. Words fall. Under the eyes of everyone, Qinglu pressed the release button of the master ball in his hand. A red light emanated from it. It fell into the ground from midair, deformed, and manifested a majestic elf wrapped in electric lights. The overall appearance is similar to a saber-toothed tiger, with golden fur and black lines, strong limbs and sharp fangs that extend to the lower jaw. It has a black steel headdress that covers its forehead and nose. Underneath the headgear is a light blue beard in the shape of an X, and a tail of the same color is shaped like a lightning bolt with sparks at the end. The white sideburns on its face and the long purple hairs like a thundercloud cape on its back symbolize clouds and cumulonimbus respectively. When the footsteps are stepped on, arc-shaped lightning is stimulated. Like the god of thunder. Appears incomparably majestic Holy Spirit. This is one of the 321 large groups of the Hu Guard in the Kanto region, and the next legend who bears the thunder cloud, Lei Gong. This is the legendary elf, Rai Gong. With an exclaimed look on his face, Dr. Damu stepped forward quickly. The ruler and magnifying glass that he took out from nowhere were rotated and checked around Lei Gong, and he was very excited. In their time, the legendary elves were also called divine beasts. While the divine beasts often perform miracles, they are rarely, and can even be said to have almost never formed a bond with a human trainer to follow. Dr. Omu is already well informed and knowledgeable, and he also had a lot of experience traveling as a trainer when he was young. But such a close observation and investigation of a living legendary elf, even Dr. Ogi himself, is the first time. Lord Rai. Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly. Speaking of which, he also subdued a Sujin not long ago. If Qihong subdued another Yan emperor, it would be interesting. I just don't know what kind of fineness this Lei Gong is. I think so on. Baizi also turned his attention to the Beast of Thunder, and directly probed the other party's data. Race, Thunder Lord. Attribute, electricity. Characteristic, spiritual power, Monty. Level, Heavenly King Intermediate, level 63, 7100ths. Potential, Quasi-God. HP, 90, Attack, 85, Defense, 75, Special Attack, 115, Special Defense 100, Speed, 115. Open black lens bracket skill, slightly. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket status, perfect close black lens bracket. Introduction. You can summon thunderclouds and release falling thunder anytime, anywhere, and your body is full of electricity, and can be accompanied by thunder and lightning. Level 63, mid-level King of Heaven. Even higher than Suicune in rank. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly. And here, after showing Lei Gong, Qinglu was obviously a little complacent. Qinglu, who has always been competitive in everything, always finds it difficult to suppress Crimson and Baizi together with the trainer. Not even to say that it is suppressed, even if there is a winner or loser, he has already done it very hard and tried his best. And now, he finally has a chance to occupy the first winning point in this difficult climbing comparison. How, are you surprised? Qinglu stretched out his hands in a hug, and the pride on his face was almost undisguised. this guy is a legendary elf that I spent a full week chasing, fighting and taming. The majestic beast Lei Gong, is it suitable for this young master? The words were not finished. Silently staring at the blue-green crimson, he suddenly tore off an unprocessed silver-white Pokeball from the cuff. Click, grow, release. Whoosh, white light flickered, and an orange-red bipedal elf appeared in the field. Its face is blue-green, with a vertical purple stripe running through it, separating the eyes of the face. There is a red crystal in the chest cavity, the legs are like syringes, and the arms are composed of two blue-orange tentacles. Overall, it's almost like an alien from a science fiction novel. Deoxys. Baizi recognized the identity of this elf immediately, and looked a little curious. Immediately, he glanced at the red-eyed boy who had always maintained an expressionless face. At this time, when he called out Deoxys, he was clearly trying to block the green. Tisk tisk tilde just because of this competitive spirit, the two guys, Crimson and Turquoise, are exactly the same. Obviously, Qinglu's words were directly choked by Crimson's action. Looking at the silent Crimson and the strange elf beside him, for a while, there was a feeling of being stuck in the throat. Oh, this is a brand new elf species. Dr. Damu didn't think too much about it. He saw a brand new elf species that he had never seen before, and he fell into a frenzy again. Xiao Kai, what's this guy's name? Okay, what is the attribute? Where did you capture it? How do these two pairs of arms with the same tentacles work? A series of questions came out of Dr. Damu's mouth. Out. And Crimson didn't hide it either. List out the parts he knows in the shortest possible sentences. Deoxys. Guess the power. I found out after destroying Team Rocket's base, and took the initiative to follow. After a question and answer. Crimson suddenly glanced at Qinglu again, and took the initiative to add. Also, according to Team Rocket's information, Deoxys should be an extraterrestrial creature, and the number is extremely rare. Qinglu. Kill. Chapter 294, The Judge. Baizi, Legend of You Demons. I have them all, please order all. Dr. Ogi nodded again and again to record in the notebook, and then 3 strokes and 2 drawings, next to the record, drew a set of body diagrams of Deoxys from various angles. Right. After carefully sorting out the drawings and records, Dr. Damu suddenly turned his head and asked Baizi, what do you think? I think. What do I think? Baizi was a little confused when asked. Dr. Damu also seemed to see Baizi's doubts, and quickly added, I just want to hear your evaluation of this Deoxys. Baizi blinked, and he really didn't understand what Dr. Ogi was thinking. He is not a Pokemon sommelier, and he has the ability and knowledge to judge the relationship between elves and trainers professionally. Although his own eyesight and cognition are not weak. Coupled with the exploration ability of the power of Baizi, its accuracy can even be said to be far better than that of most Pokemon sommeliers. At this time, not only Dr. Damu but also Crimson himself, including Qinglu, who was a little stuck in his heart, and Yayi beside him. Everyone turned their attention to Baizi, as if they were all looking forward to Bai 433Z's rhetoric. Dr. Damu also said again, Baizi, just talk about it. Okay. Looking at the eyes of everyone, Baizi shook his head with a smile, touched the tip of his nose, and finally nodded. And at the same time, in his blue eyes, an unseen brilliance suddenly flashed out. Race. Deoxys Red Core General Form, Attack Form, Defense Form, Speed Form. Attribute. Super Energy. Characteristic. Pressure. Level. Peak of Kings, Level 69, 95 100ths. Potential. Level 2 God, Extreme. Open black lens bracket HP. 50, Attack. 150 180ths, 70 95ths. Defense. 50 20ths, 160 90ths. Special Attack. 150 180ths, 70 95ths. Special Defense. 50 20ths, 160 90ths. Speed. 150 150ths, 90 180ths. Close black lens bracket. Exclusive skill. Spiritual Rush. Mobilize all power to attack the opponent. After use, the special attack will be greatly reduced due to the reaction force. Open black lens bracket skill. Slightly. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket condition. Good close black lens bracket. Introduction. It is an elf life form mutated from the DNA of a cosmic virus, because it was contaminated and absorbed red blood in the process of resuscitation, and regards red as blood relatives. It really is the individual in the special chapter. Baizi's eyes flashed with a hint of clarity. After pondering for a while, he didn't do much to cover up, and said bluntly, the essence of the potential of a single round, this deoxy is not much inferior to the ordinary legendary elves. Calculated by type, rarity and potential, Deoxys can be completely classified as in Eudemons. Also, if some of its potentials can be fully discovered, it will be a very good all-around ace. I think Crimson should have expected this. Well, Crimson pondered for a long time, there was a slight wave in his calm eyes, and he just nodded. Qinglu bowed his head slightly, but couldn't see any expression for a while. On the other hand, Dr. Damu sighed repeatedly after hearing the words. Baizi's judgment is always so precise and sure. The person who made the judgment is worthy of the name. The person who judged. Baizi's expression was a little strange. This title is too specific. The major protagonists in the special chapter, including the red and green in front of them, all have similar and targeted titles. Not bad. Dr. Damu nodded proudly. This is the title ACBH, that I specially arranged according to the characteristics and abilities of the excellent trainers who took the illustrated book from me. Baizi has shown correctness since he was a child. The precise judgment of elves and real objects can even intuitively determine their special and hidden messages. It is the person who judges. Crimson has an amazing talent for the battle of elves, can grow in the battle, and is the person who fights. And my grandson Qinglu, who is very good at training and cultivating elves, can tap the potential of elves in a short time to the maximum extent, and as a cultivator. How about these titles I gave you? It should be considered appropriate, right? The three of them were a little silent, looked at each other a few times, and all nodded. Although it is not comprehensive enough, it does indeed express the characteristics of several people. The one who judges. Baizi's expression was a little inexplicable, and a special sense of participation suddenly rose in his heart. It seems that without knowing it, he has also become the holder of the stacks of hangers in the special chapter. And right now, he suddenly felt two sets of eyes on him. A look up. It was crimson and green. Baizi, since Grandpa said that you are a judge who can intuitively determine the characteristics of elves and hidden information. Qinglu's eyes glowed. Then, tell me, my Legong and Qi's Deoxys, which one is better? Although Qihong didn't say anything, the information revealed in his eyes was the same as Qinglu's. Obviously. He wanted to use Baizi's mouth to decide the outcome. Dr. Damu, who was beside him, also had an old urchin temper, and he coaxed. Yes, Baizi, let's talk about it. It can be divided into Deoxys who is a phantom beast and Legong who is a legendary elf. Which one is it? What's more powerful? On the data panel alone, it is naturally Deoxys. Baizi rolled his eyes in his heart. But, facing the searching gazes of several people, Baizi didn't say a word, but took out two pokeballs directly from his waist. Just click. In the light of the rays released by the pokeball, the golden human Ladane cat and the slender and graceful Suicune suddenly appeared in the field. Isn't it bad? Not to mention. Baizi spread his hands. Anyway, I have both phantom beasts and legendary elves. Crimson. Green. Chapter 295. Yai, then they are so pitiful. Please order. Dr. Ogi fell into the joy of the researcher again. Started to check the records around Zeraora and Suicune constantly, pulling Baizi to ask questions. And aside. Scarlet Red started to check the status of the major masters in his hand without saying a word. After a while, he selected 6 of them and Deoxys, and placed the rest of the masters in the exclusive subterranean training / transportation room. One last look at Suijun and Raigong. Nodding to the crowd, he simply turned around and left the backyard. I'm leaving too. Qinglu looked at Crimson's back, and instantly understood the thoughts of his rival, pursed his lips, and immediately jumped off the wooden stake, taking Lei Gong back into the master ball. Left the backyard. Soon. Puchapuchi was accompanied by a sound of wings spreading, and a huge statuette with gorgeous hair and a wingspan of nearly 5 or 6 meters flew out from the windowsill on the second floor. Carrying the blue-green one-shoulder backpack on his back, he flew straight into the sky. Ha, these two boys are really competitive. Dr. Damu raised his head and glanced at Bidiao and Qinglu, who were only black spots in the sky, and immediately shook his head and let out a long laugh. Then, he quickly immersed himself in recording and observation. By the way, Bai Zi, I still have something to tell you. Dr. Damu didn't lift his head. Because of the large number of participants, this year's Quartz Conference was held in the ancient arena in the Silver Mountains. The ancient arena has been abandoned for many years and needs to be repaired and further expanded, so the date of the event has to be postponed for a period of time, from early September this year to mid-October. Guys, spend more time for training and preparation. Then they are so pitiful. When Yayi heard this, she couldn't help but beep in a low voice. Dr. Damu, who was concentratingly recording the elf information, was stunned for a moment, and then laughed out loud. Ha, yes, meeting you three, they are really pitiful. Bai Zi shrugged. Perhaps for other rookie trainers, an extra month or two is just enough to solidify the foundation, at most a few levels. But for Bai Zi, red, green and green. Such a time is enough for their strength to produce a leap-like evolution again. By the time. In the face of the more perverted Junxinjun trio, and as far as he knows, Xiao Huang, Alice, etc. Tisk, these ordinary trainers joined in such a fight of gods. If they were not careful, they might be a lot of them are going to be beaten up and shut themselves down. Soon. Dr. Ogi completed the final survey, and then, he took out a blue-violet theme from his pocket, patterned with staggered white crosses, and covered with 4 golden yellow shells. This is Ultimate Ball. Yes. Dr. Damu didn't seem surprised that Bai Zi recognized the object, nodded, and handed the object to Bai Zi. This Ultimate Ball is. It was entrusted to me by an old friend, that you can't say, isn't it? Bai Zi reached out and took the Ultimate Ball with a pointed expression. Ah, yes. Dr. Damu touched the tip of his nose, sneered and changed the subject. You should use this thing later. Cough, I still have something to do, so I'll go to work first. With that said, Dr. Damu raised the note in Yang's hand, quickly left the backyard, and hid back to the research institute. Bai Zi lightly smiled and shook his head, but did not ask any further. To this day, he had already guessed the matter thoroughly. But, since Dr. Damu deliberately ambiguity, Bai Zi is not ready to break this tacit understanding. After all, what this tacit agreement contains is probably the password about time. Left the research institute of Dr. Ogi. When she went to Bai Zi's house on the southern edge of Junxin town, Yayi seemed to have remembered something. With her hands behind her back, she jumped about half of her body, and asked with a smile, by the way, Bai Zi, you said before. Junxinjun is your second hometown, so what is your first hometown? The first hometown. Bai Zi's eyes became dazed for a moment, then shook his head, and said with a calm expression, actually, there is no first hometown. The reason why Junxin town is the second hometown is because in the elf world, there are 2 hometowns. Quote. 0. Ask for flowers. Oh. There was a strong curiosity in Yayi's eyes, and Bai Zi didn't hide it, and explained to Yayi softly, my mother is from Junxin town in Kanto, and my father is from Hufan city in Hezhong. I was born in Yifan city, but when I was 5 years old, I moved here with my parents and settled in Junxin town, my mother's hometown, and have been living until now. Me too. Yayi raised her right hand and said excitedly, I'm also from Hufan city. Speaking of which, silver white hair. Mei bit her finger, it seems that I may have seen it when I was young. The words are full of unconfidence. After all, it is only a fleeting childhood memory, it is difficult to recall so deeply. Have seen. Baizi on the side blinked when he heard the words, and immediately, the memories in his mind were flipped through like a photo album. Moment. Ellipsis ellipsis ellipsis. You said, it should be when you were in Pokemon kindergarten, right? Even Baizi was a little surprised when he recalled the memory in his mind. Because he didn't even think that he and Mei went to the same kindergarten when he was young. Being reminded by Baizi, the memory is like a dusty old photo that has been re-scrubbed, which made Yayi recall, I remember. You were the super popular kid back then, but transferred away soon after transferring to another school. Brother. Mei's face flushed red. It's not just the intimacy that comes from childhood memories. Most importantly, Yayi, if you think about it like this, you are both a fellow countryman and a classmate. Then there is nothing wrong with being a childhood sweetheart. 7 PS, as shown in the picture. Hotel, out of town blind date. There is one chapter left, which must be completed at night. Several. I just got back, so I can only make it up during the day. I'm sorry for returning to the hotel after 4 o'clock. I took a shower and started writing when I woke up, but after an hour, I came out with more than 100 words. I really can't write it, so I have to make up tomorrow. Now, I'm really sorry, there's really no way, Bo. Chapter 296. Rabbi When Flashing, Ripples in Time and Space. For full order. After Baizi and Yayi returned to Junshin town, they did not rush to travel again, but settled down for the time being. During this period, the household registration was also placed in Junshin town. As the fourth person with special talents recognized by Dr. Damu, Xiao Huang, the healer, finally teleported back the first elf. This is a fire insect, quasi-god, a fire insect, quasi-god that is quite rare in the Kanto region, the birthplace of the Hajong area, and even worships it as a god. Because it needs to accumulate energy in a place with a large number of fire attribute factors, such as a crater, in order to complete the transformation and turn into a Vulcan moth. There is really no way for Xiao Huang who needs to travel to provide a high-quality environment for him. That's why he had to turn to Dr. Omu, who was acquainted by Baizi's matchmaking, to provide help. And take this opportunity. Baizi also finally saw Xiao Huang again in the independent communication room of Dr. Damu's house. Long time no see, Xiao Huang. Brother Baizi. In the video, Xiao Huang's expression still has the familiar shyness, and behind her, a dark-skinned girl with long purple-black hair is looking at herself. A curious and amazed expression on his face. So you are the brother Baizi that Xiao Huang is thinking about. You look so good. It's hard to blame Xiao Huang. Not finished. The red-faced Xiao Huang pressed his face and pushed him toward the video. But even so, she still shouted energetically, My name is Alice, I am a trainer from the real dragon hometown of Hajong, and my goal is to become a world dragon master. Alice, I remember. Baizi's tone was soft, but the seriousness in it was not false. Because he could hear the firmness and will contained in this seemingly hilarious self-introduction. Alice, who also heard Baizi's tone, scratched her head and smiled, holding her head hard, and gave Baizi a thumbs up at the edge of the video. You really are a good person, I approve of your marriage with Xiao Huang. Who wants your approval? Xiao Huang was ashamed and angry, and quickly pushed Alice out with both hands. Then, accompanied by Alice's words, I don't want to say it, who can't see it just like you, if you like it, you should chase it bravely. At the end of the sentence, okay, I'm going out, you can talk to yourselves, the footsteps and voices drifted away until they disappeared. After a while, it was obvious that Xiao Huang, who had undergone some facial expressions, returned to the screen again. That, brother Baizi, in fact, Okay, Baizi, who knew Xiao Huang's thin skin, took the initiative to change the subject. Tell me about your recent travel experience. Xiao Huang breathed a sigh of relief, and quickly nodded his head with a chicken pecking at the rice. We went to Victory Pan Gym first, but it was closed at the time, so we had a closed door. After the two chatted for a while, Bai Zi took out the luxurious ball with a huge giant rock snake and said with a smile, "By the way, this is a giant rock snake that I caught for you in Miacha Mountain, which is several times the size of the same clan. And after carrying the metal coating for communication evolution, you can get an attribute shield with a physical defense of up to 200. Quote. Big steel snake. Xiao Huang, who has made up for the basic knowledge of elves, is a little puzzled, because the big rock snake has always been classified as a non-evolved group, which is a type of elves that has neither evolved nor degenerated. But since it was Bai Zi who said it, Xiao Huang naturally believed it. Even with a look of anticipation on his face, he was waiting for Bai Zi's explanation. The big rock snake is similar to the type of elves that must use the help of evolution stones to evolve. Bai Zi talked about it, but compared with the types of elves that can evolve directly with the help of props, the evolution factors in its body are more inert and difficult to excite. Therefore, in addition to suitable props, the evolution can only be accomplished with the help of human intervention. And the evolution of communication is to use the wave power of the space that instantly molecularizes objects when the elves are transported, so that the elves and the props it carries produce entangled and mixed fusion, resulting in evolution. Although Bai Zi has always been direct and straightforward in his work, and is never satisfied with the pursuit of strength and power, in fact, although he advocates force, he is also a veritable intellectual. This can be easily seen from Bai Zi's fighting style. Perhaps it is because of the ability to maximize the use of the Heaven's Path rewards system. Bai Zi is in the choice of battle. Generally more inclined and accustomed to the weak win the strong. This is his self-confidence, which makes Bai Zi more inclined to rely on resourcefulness and targeted tactics to win in his fighting style. Same. A matter, although he will not seek to understand too much, but he will not completely ignore it. What is the principle of communication evolution to allow the replaced elves to complete the fusion and evolution of the props? The answer to this question, Bai Zi researched and came to a conclusion with Xiaobo as early as on Red Lotus Island. After listening carefully to what Bai Zi said, Xiao Huang suddenly said with brilliance, Brother Bai Zi, you really are omnipotent. You. Bai Zi chuckled lightly, and then placed the big rock snake's pokeball on the transmission port of the communicator in front of him. Okay, I'll pass it on to you, big rock snake, and I will look to the elves in Yuhong City for the metal coating. Center, you can take it there. Quote. I see, thank you, Brother Bai Zi. Xiao Huang nodded again and again with a smile on his face. After the phone porridge with Xiao Huang and the big rock snake, Bai Zi discussed with Dr. Damu about the evolution of communication at the Damu Research Institute. Until the sun goes down. Only after Zeraora came to remind him, he left the Damu Research Institute together. In the past few days when he returned to Junxin town, Bai Zi did not carry the elves with him, but released them all. 433 among them, there are two top legends, Kang Shang and Haishan Lai Kongzai. Even Machado. All were temporarily driven out of the shadows under his feet. In the past few days, the elf, Bai Zi, and Mei have lived peacefully together like real family members, doing the most complete relaxation. One person and one pet are walking leisurely on the country lanes. Soon, from a distance, outside the courtyard of the two-story small Western-style building on the southern edge of the town, the lilac figure standing quietly waiting at the intersection with his arms folded. Shinado tilde Bai Zi's mouth twitched, just as he was about to say hello. Then tilde tilde tilde. A weak voice suddenly came from not far behind. And then, in an instant, everything within the visible range of hundreds of meters, including Bai Zi and Zeraora, gradually became blurred and transparent. This feeling. Bai Zi turned his head suddenly with great alertness, and a cute pink elf with an onion head also raised his head and looked at him timidly. Rabbi Wen flashing. Not good. This is the ripple of time and space. P.S. Get home, code words, blow it, and die of exhaustion. Chapter 297. Lai Kongzai, I'm going to chat with Dialga. For full order. Baizi is alert enough, and his reaction is not unpleasant, and even the tacit understanding between him and Zeraora is impeccable. After determining the identity and status of Shirabi for the first time. From what I know from memory, Shirabi is an elf who doesn't like fighting, so when it encounters an enemy, it often chooses to avoid it, and when it encounters an unavoidable danger, it will launch the power to travel through time and space to make itself escape to another time and space, such a message. In an instant, according to the situation of Shirabi, he judged that the flashing Shirabi, which only had a light pink color scheme, released a time ripple that traveled through time and space because of the crisis. To know. Shirabi's time ripple is a range technique that does not distinguish between enemy and foe. As long as it is any living being swept by the time ripple, it will be brought into another space and time by Shirabi. Therefore, after confirming this, Baizi flew up almost without hesitation and kicked Zeraora beside him. And Zeraora also kicked towards Baizefe almost at the same time. The claws intersected, and under the mutual reaction force, Baizi and Zeraora quickly burst out to the left and right sides. Almost in the blink of an eye, the edge of the pale pink time ripple was approaching. However, it was too late. Sana. Shanae Duo's whole body was full of purple ons, and the almost substantial thought power spread out like a tidal wave, frantically rolling in the direction of Baizi. And the other side. The giant stinger, who was keeping a close distance from Baizi all the time, was secretly vigilant and turned into an arrow from the string. He rushed forward frantically in the direction of Baizi. At this juncture of crisis, the speed seems to have a sudden increase of several points. But it was already too late. Accompanied by Shirabi's increasingly high-pitched calling, the surrounding scenery became more and more distorted and boiled like boiling water. For a time, it was accompanied by a strong white light flickering all around suddenly, as if the pause button was pressed. Immediately after, the light fades away. Whether it was Baizi or Zeraora, including the injured pink shining rabbi, they all disappeared. And Shanado's surging mind power and the large needle bee that burst into it. All of them were empty. _F_. The low air pressure suddenly surged from the bodies of the two elves, and the majestic thought power of Shanado's whole body was directly transformed into a distorted material shape. It seemed like countless spear forests protruded, and it seemed to evolve into various types of elves. It's not the grim-faced, twisted limbs. And the big needle bee that slammed into the air after hovering, the breath became more and more deep, but the little bit of shattering meaning, but directly smashed the air around it to shreds. Stabbed one by one, black electric mons crack, suddenly burst. And then, ow tilde, mild tilde, so tilde, Terry tilde, woo tilde. Accompanied by roars of different lengths, Baizi's elves scattered around the house all rushed in this direction. And the fastest among them was Haishan Lai Kongzai and Kang Shang, who were the farthest away. Almost the second after Baizi disappeared. The two rushed to the scene of the incident almost in no particular order, and expanded their perception and probed almost simultaneously. Kang Shang was the first to speak. This is the time ripple of the Celebi family. That's right. Haishan Lai Kongzai also agreed and tapped the dragon's head. This is indeed the power of time. Other than Dialga, who is stationed in Tianguan Mountain, I am afraid that this family is the only one who can use this power. Words fall. Kang Shang glanced at the group of elves and Yayi who came over. A dignified and noble special telepathy resounded in the air. Baizi disappeared. It should have been involved in Shirabi's time ripple and traveled through time and space. Now it is impossible to determine how long Baizi has traveled through, whether it is the past or the future. Therefore, we must act immediately, discuss methods, and divide labor. There is a saying in the elf world. What kind of elf, what kind of trainer? It means that the elf will gradually move closer to the trainer's character and habits during training and life with the trainer. Therefore, what kind of elf will be directly related to the trainer's temperament and behavior? Contact. The trainer disappeared under the nose. If you replace it with an ordinary elf, you will either fall into mania, anger, sadness and self-blame after finding out. Either. Just running around blindly without any preparation or planning at all. As for Baizi's elves, although they were all anxious, they were still able to stabilize their tempers, considering and negotiating a cure for Baizi. And Kang Zheng's voice just fell. First of all, we need to stay behind some elves near Junxin town to collect clues that may appear. Shinado spoke first and said with a certain face, if Baizi traveled to the past time and space, presumably he would not choose to sit still, and he would definitely leave something and clues to remind us. And the best place, it's a real new town. Because the specific age is uncertain, whether it will affect the address and geography of Junxin town, so this matter needs to be informed to Dr. Damu, and he will come to help. Then it's Shirabi. Zoroark's slightly trembling smoky voice also sounded, the bell has to be tied, and someone must be good to find a new Shirabi. The last one is me, I'm going to Tiangwan Mountain immediately and have a chat with Dialga. The words should just fall. Roar tilde. Haishan Likong sat on the toilet with a high-pitched dragon roar, and went straight into the cloudy sky. As the top legend of the Sheno place. One of the space-time double dragons. Dialga is known as the god of time. It was obvious why Kurosawa was sitting there looking for it. And with the temperament of Black and Stern sitting empty, this, talking, method, I am afraid it will not be too harmonious. Kill. Chapter 298. Yayi, vomit tilde please order all. At this moment, a strong yellow-haired man in a military green camouflage uniform and a beret, and a lip-smacking sister appeared out of thin air in front of a group of elves and Yayi. The face of this middle-aged man is very recognizable. The muscles of the upper quarter of the face on the right side are exposed, twisted and red, showing severe burns. In his hand is a quaint instrument that resembles a dial. Now. The red light above is flashing continuously. A female electronic voice sounded. DDD, the residual time ripples are detected, cannot be traced back, please reposition the target, please reposition the target. Damn. The scar-faced man pressed the protruding switch button on the upper left of the instrument and stared at the restarting instrument interface, with blue veins on his forehead. This little thing ran away again. The scar-faced man, named Kailsa, was born in Shanao. However, compared to his real name, the special title given by his profession is even more famous. Hunter K. He is one of the 4 level A-level hunters with the same name as the dead Hunter G and the Hunter J planted in Xiao Huang's hands, and he is also the oldest elf hunter among the 4 large-letter hunters. But now, the reason why he is pursuing Shirabi is because someone on the dark web of elves has offered a sky-high price of 2 billion, plus an ice-based secondary law divine object, 110-degree ice essence. As a Heavenly King level trainer specializing in the ice department, his strongest ace, the Ice Ghost Guardian, has been stuck at the peak of the Heavenly King for many years. 2 billion alliance coins are exciting. However, compared with the secondary law of the ice element, the ice essence 0, it is insignificant. If he can obtain this item, Hunter K has sufficient confidence to let his ice ghost protector break through to the champion realm. Even. Take this to break the cage, be reborn, and look forward to the realm of quasi-gods. To know. Among the 4 hunters in the organization today, except for Hunter Z, who is always covered by masks and robes, has a mysterious identity, loves to collect all kinds of unknown elves' information, and likes to eat black. Hunter G has disappeared since he was defeated by the Ice King Kona in Kanto. Now, it has been confirmed that he died in the ACBH Forest of Victory in Kanto. As a rising star, Hunter J, who is the most powerful hunter of the 4 alphabets on the bright side, was also confused in Kanto, and was trapped in the police station in Victory City. However, he heard that there seemed to be a mysterious organization that secretly fished her out without knowing it. After that, Hunter J also temporarily disappeared. Leave this aside. Honestly, if it wasn't for this sub-law of ice, the ice essence of 0 degrees, let alone 2 billion, or 10 billion. He also needs to think carefully for several days. It seems that we can only find the trace of the next rabbi. He sighed deeply. Hunter K was not too annoyed. The rabbi's mission to capture the legendary elf, he knew from the beginning would not be so easy to accomplish. But the reason why he has the confidence to take on this task. What he relied on was the quaint instrument in his hand that looked like a dial. This thing was an escort mission when he was idle and bored and concealed his identity. An ancient treasure unearthed by an archaeological team that hired him. It can effectively detect and search for various specific energy ripples within a certain range. Obviously, this is a rare treasure. Therefore, with greed in his heart, Hunter K, who is not a good person at all, murdered on the spot and buried the archaeological team in the wilderness of the mountains. But that's why. He annoyed a terrifying blonde girl. The other party used 6 handheld elves, most of whom had just reached the level of the Heavenly King, to match the weak to the strong, and just let him, a veteran Heavenly King trainer whose ace and main force reached the peak of the Heavenly King, was brutally abused. Being chased and killed by the opponent for thousands of miles. Even now, when he thinks of the other party's tyrannical high-pressure tactics like a dragon, the right side of his face still ache. But everything is worth it. Not to mention how much this thing has helped him on weekdays. Just now, to explore the ripples of time and the convenience of the rabbi when searching, let alone being chased and killed by thousands of miles, even if you are chased and killed by thousands of miles, it is worth it. Hunter K's thoughts flashed through his mind like lightning, but when he looked up, he found that there were more than a dozen elves with extraordinary momentum surrounding him. And Sister Millip, who was beside her, was imprisoned in a layer of lavender thought power, as if she had been immobilized. Hunter K only felt the hairs all over his body stand upside down, and almost subconsciously, he waved his hand towards the elf racket hanging from his waist. But next second, an illusion-like silver streamer flashed across the corner of his eyes. In an instant, his arm froze. A puddle of hot blood splashed on his face. It wasn't until he looked at the empty right arm with hindsight that the severe pain and the weakness of massive blood loss came. Ah! Just as he was about to scream in agony, an invisible binding force imprisoned his entire body. It seems that the culprit should be this guy. Then, Shinado stretched out his hand, and the thought force that turned into a rope dragged the opponent to him. Then, Sue stretched out his hand and held Hunter K's head. Before he dies, use the waist first. The next second, substantial spiritual power rushed into Hunter K's mind recklessly. Suddenly broke out. Immediately, the imprisoned Hunter K's eyes suddenly bulged, almost as if he was about to pop out of his eye sockets, his 7 orifices bleed, and his body twitched violently. Screams. It makes me shudder. Soon the screams and convulsions subsided. Shinado clenched suddenly. Suddenly, Hunter K's head was like a watermelon that was instantly burst. Yuck. Yai's face turned pale, and she couldn't help but vomit. P.S. Yai tilde. Chapter 299, Traveling Through Time and Space, The Demeanor of a Lady. As for Baizi's elves, except for little Lugia, whose eyes were covered by the slightly frowning Gili egg, and the startled fire monkey. Basically, they can all be described as having no discoloration on their faces. And at the same time, if you want to vent, choose yourself. Accompanied by the cold and bone-chilling telepathy, a few elf balls and the pale-faced lip-smacking sister were thrown directly by Shinado in front of the elves behind her. Swish, the big needle bee took the lead, dashing forward like lightning, and the long needle swayed, passing by the side of Miss Lips like a streamer. Next second, blood splattered. The top door was directly opened with a big hole, and she was killed by a big needle bee without even letting out a scream. And then, crack, snapped, Snapped. Several elf balls opened from midair, and 4 elves, the Ice Ghost Guardian, the Double Toto Ice, the Ice Rock Monster, and the Blizzard King, exuding the breath of the lowest heavenly king, appeared out of thin air. Next second, Zoroark, the Wind Speed Dog and the Giant Gold Monster each pounced on one of them. The weakest Double Dodo Ice was surrounded by Laplace and Ibrahimovic, who had transformed into a fire elf. And right now, Tang Tang Snake, use the stare. May was a little weak, but a firm command sounded. Next second, Vine Tilda, accompanied by a soft moan, while supporting the pale-faced Mei with a cane whip, her eyes lit up with silver-green light, and she glared at Double Duoduo Bing. Pa Tilda. The moment the rays of light approached, they were directly separated by the energy area of the double ice body that was much higher than the vine snake. The huge level difference makes the Double Duoduo Ice directly immune to the change of the vine snake. But in the next second, Laplace's slap containing the ground fissure, and the flame vortex spitting out from the fire spirit, smashed the head. Under the anger, these elves did not hold on for long, and they were strangled one by one. And during this period, May's actions. It also made many Baizi's handheld elves, when looking at her, their gazes become softer and kinder. Huh. Seeing this scene on the side, Tang Tang Snake suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, hiding his merit and fame. Okay, after venting, let's act as soon as possible. Sinead Duo's calm voice sounded, and unceremoniously took the initiative to exercise command, showing the demeanor of a big woman. First of all, King Shang, you are the strongest among us, and the rabbi's heavy responsibility will be entrusted to you when we look for it. Quote. And it looked at Mei. Take her, I will tell her how to use this instrument to search for time ripples, so that you can find the traces of Rabbi Shi. Saying that, Sinead went straight up, a little bit of May's forehead, the usage method collected from Hunter K.'s mind, and the communication number of the Oki Research Institute, all instilled in it. Remember, keep in touch with the Oki Research Institute at all times. Putting the disc-like quaint instrument in Yai's hand, after Sinead's solemn exhortation, she said in a deep voice, Go. Good. Yes. May subconsciously tensed her body, and firmly held the energy wave detector in her hand. Simply packing up the luggage, Yai rides on the sound of the sky, and runs directly outside Junshin town. Subsequently, under the command of Sinead, the giant Needlebee entered the vibrant forest to subdue and gather the giant Needlebee group, and carried out a carpet search to find the possible traces left by Baizi. Machado returns to the Azure Mountains to find the vanished Ho-Oh. Suicune and Laplace escorted the little Lugia into the sea along the number 21 waterway, seeking the help of the Lugia tribe. The rest will be used as logistics and it will stay in Junshin town. Act as a firefighter for emergencies, and conduct preliminary exploration and search for the area of Junshin town. By the way, Zoroark, before exploring, let's tell Dr. Damu about this first, and bring Gili Egg and Fire Monkey together. Starting today, Gili Egg and Fire Monkey will be stationed at the Damu Research Institute, waiting for you at any time. May's communication information. Zoroark didn't talk nonsense, picked up the auspicious egg with one hand, and directly lifted the back of the neck of the fire monkey with the other. In the next second, he immediately jumped up and ran towards the Damu Research Institute. The Wind Speed Dog and the Giant Gold Monster have already left here, and they are ready to start their search from Baizi's small courtyard and the intersection of Road 1 on the northern border of Junshin town. On the land stained with blood and corpses, only Sinead stood alone under the setting sun. The originally calm complexion was suddenly filled with sadness. Zero. Ask for flowers. But it quickly calmed down, and after a moment of condensing, finally, slowly, it took out a green seed shining with the brilliance of life from its arms. On the other side, Baizi only felt a flower in front of him, and the next second, he appeared in a colorful corridor. Moment. L. Underscore. A vast force would imprison his body. But in the next second, the quill feather on the wrist released a rainbow and a silver of 8-colored light, completely wrapping Baizi, and instantly dispelling the confinement power of time and space. As soon as he looked up, he saw not far ahead, the flashing Shirabi swaying along the colorful light corridor. Tilda. At this moment, as if feeling something, the pink figure swimming in front of him turned around. After seeing Baizi, who was radiating light all over his body, he immediately covered his mouth with a cute look. It seems quite surprising that Baizi was not stopped by the power in the space-time corridor. But seeing Baizi looking over, he suddenly burst into light again as if frightened. Baizi's expression changed suddenly. Hey, wait. Shirabi, don't. But he didn't finish his sentence. Under the pull of the pink rabbi again, the power of time and space erupted again, and the dazzling light suddenly reappeared, making the scene in front of Baizi's eyes distorted again. The scalp was swollen, and a strong sense of dizziness came to Baizi's mind instantly. It's like the sky is spinning upside down. Soon, the body seemed to be spit out directly by some kind of force. Immediately, the weightless feeling of falling, as well as the strong wind resistance and whistling sound made the dizzy Baizi wake up again. Effortlessly opened his eyes. The small islands and buildings dotted on the sea below made Baizi instantly understand his own situation. He is above the sky, and in the midst of a rapid fall. Chapter 300. Alola, the sudden Kapu is screaming. Zeraora. After confirming his situation, Baizi immediately searched for Zeraora's figure. He didn't forget that Zeraora was also affected by time ripples. And, without the protection of Ho-Oh's rainbow-colored feathers and Lugia's silver-colored feathers, it would be difficult for Zeraora to deal with the mighty power in the corridors of time and space. As predicted. Baizi soon found the unconscious Zeraora near him. As soon as the burning white thought power was released, he instantly lifted himself and Zeraora not far away in the air. Subsequently, gorgeous pupils swept away. Zeraora's data panel suddenly came into view. After discovering that Zeraora was fine, but temporarily unconscious because of the pressure in the passage, 433, which was unable to withstand the time gap, Baizi breathed a sigh of relief. Reaching out to the elf belt around his waist. But instantly, Baizi's movement stopped. He swiped his fingers over the vacant pokeballs around his waist, sighed softly, and then skillfully took one off, and temporarily took back the unconscious Zeraora. For now, let's determine the location and time. After making a decision, Baizi controlled his psychic power to slowly fall at an average speed, while looking from afar to the sea area where there were several large and small islands scattered below. It's so beautiful, Tilda. At a glance, Baizi sighed unconsciously. Because the scenery below is really beautiful. The clear blue sea is like a huge mirror, reflecting the azure clouds. The 4 islands are different in shape. The main islands with volcanoes, coconut forests, wilderness and sea of flowers are distributed in circular arcs. The center one is full of technology. Artificial islands surround it. The light shone down, sparkling. The light refracted by various strange seabed ores instantly renders the blue-like sea surface colorful. The layers of light are like painted colors, and the cyclical color flow and fluctuations bring people a soul-stirring beauty. The chaotic flowers are gradually fascinating, and the ultimate beauty does have the power to wash people's hearts. Even Baizi's originally impetuous mind was cleared up. At the same time, based on the comparison of the scenery below and the memory in his mind, Baizi quickly recognized where he was. This is Alora. And just when Baizi recognized Alola's landform, one by one, orange-yellow figures suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. It has a black body, long orange hair like a coxcomb and 3 forked radish legs. Each hand has half a bright yellow shell with patterns printed on the shell. Kapu, Mingming. Baizi immediately recognized the identity of the elf that appeared in front of him. It is one of the patron saints of the 4 islands in the Alola region, and is responsible for guarding the Kapu of Melamel Island. Mingming. And almost subconsciously, the unseen brilliance suddenly appeared from the eyes one by one. Elf, Kapu. Mingming. Attribute, Electric Fairy. Characteristics, Electric Maker. When appearing on the field, an electric field will be set up. Telepathy. Hidden characteristics. Read our attack, and dodge its move damage. Level. Level 2 God Peak. Level 109, 75/100. Potential. Level 2 God. HP. 70, Attack. 115, Defense. 85, Special Attack. 95, Special Defense. 75, Speed. 130. Exclusive Skill. Wrath of Nature. Electricity. Common Skills. Electric Field. Divine Bird Onslaught. Power Swap. Black Eyes. Lightning Flash. Shrinking Shell. Electric Shock. Electric Light. Electric Shock Wave. Crazy Volt. High-Speed Movement. Electric Ball. Director. Fight. Props. Z Bracelet. Electric Z Pure Crystal. Open Black Lens Bracket. Status. Perfect Close Black Lens Bracket. Law of Comprehension. Electricity 75%. Introduction. Kapu, who arrived in the realm of God. Mingming, although known as the patron saint, does not mean that he will often help, and he will also attack humans and elves who destroy his mood. He is a god with a ferocious temperament. I am very interested in people and other Pokemon, and will play and fight together. Crack tilde. Kapu. After Mingming and Baizi looked at each other for a few times, they tilted their heads, as if they were spinning around. Baizi with no interest in looking around. Then, he turned back to Baizi, got closer, and looked at Baizi again. Baizi was tense all over. It can be seen from the introduction that Kapu Mingming is not a kind legendary fairy. Not to mention, Baizi doesn't think that a god who is in charge of struggle will be a good-tempered guy. But now, with the only elf Zeraora by his side, but the realm of the King of Heaven, he fell into a coma again, and he had a whole card in his hand. The strongest one is only sealed in the left hand. After lacking the supply of King Shing, its maximum output is the brilliant King Sword Giant Beast Slash, which can only kill the champion elf with one blow. And it's still the kind of one-off trick that takes a long time to recover energy after a single blow. However, according to the feedback of Baizeji's ability to distinguish between good and evil, Kapu Mingming seems to have no malice towards him for the time being. And just after Kapu Mingming stared at Baizi for a long time, it suddenly nodded as if affirming something. Then, stepped back. After exiting several meters, 1.7 folded his hands together, and shrunk his entire body into a closed shape, like a golden and majestic rooster head wood carving. Then, a winking face. Under the eyes of Bai Zejong, she began to make a ping 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 bang sound, twisting and dancing in the air. And along with Kapu Mingming's dance, the electrical attribute factors that are almost as real as they are quickly aggregated and incorporated into Kapu Mingming's shell.